Chapter 2307. Looking at the many trembling cultivators, the young venerable sovereign's eyes were filled with disdain. It was as if the heavens were looking down on a group of ants on the ground. My name is Jiang Taijie. I am a supreme existence that coexists with the heavens and earth. Your only choice is to submit to me. Otherwise, you won't even have the right to choose death. As the young venerable sovereign's majestic voice fell, a supreme pressure suddenly enveloped Su Fang and the other cultivators. At this moment, everyone felt as if the heavens and earth had changed hands. Their surroundings were filled with the terrifying pressure formed by the power of the heavenly Tao order. Even those over-God experts were trembling from the bottom of their hearts at this moment. From their souls to their divine bodies they felt a chill. A feeling of being as insignificant as ants spontaneously arose from the bottom of their hearts. Over-God experts were peerless figures in the myriad of heavens and realms. Any one of them was an overlord or a giant of a region. How long had it been since they had felt this humble feeling? At this moment, almost everyone had given up the thought of resisting. One could imagine, how could an ant have the courage to resist when facing the heavens? The Golden Rainbow King's world spirit suddenly spoke from the depths of Su Fang's inner world. Jiang Taijie? This name is somewhat familiar. I remember now. I once entered an ancient tomb and saw this name in the notes left behind by the tomb's owner. Golden Rainbow King, I didn't expect you to be not only a bandit, but also a grave robber. I was forced to make a living at that time. You'd better think about how to deal with this big guy that has existed for who knows how many eras. You actually have the mood to laugh at me. The Golden Rainbow King coughed. You know this person? Of course. Back in my days, this Jiang Taijie was not an ordinary person. He was a supreme existence that surpassed the ancient times. Moreover, he was in the same line as me. Su Fang was shocked and stunned. This young venerable sovereign is also a bandit? Being a bandit is free and unrestrained. The world is vast and you can roam freely. What's wrong with that? The Golden Rainbow King was very dissatisfied. Then, he couldn't help but exclaim, this Jiang Taijie is not an ordinary bandit. He is one of the 7 great bandits that existed since the ancient times. You should just surrender to such a powerful existence. You are no match for him. Surrender to him? Su Fang scoffed. Weren't the 7 great bandits suppressed in the divine prison of law? Now is not the same as back then. It is still difficult for him to defy the heavens. At this moment, Jiang Taijie retracted his divine might and said indifferently, I'll give you a chance. Submit to me and become my slaves. Not only can I let you live, but I can also help you reach the highest peak of the world and even obtain eternal life. Those cultivators were already shaken by Jiang Taijie's pressure. Now that they heard Jiang Taijie's bewitching words, all of them were tempted. QL11 Su Fang suddenly sneered. You want us to rely on you, one of the 7 great bandits? Isn't that ridiculous? 7 great bandits? Many cultivators looked at each other. The young venerable sovereign was surprised. You actually know this emperor's origin? That's good. I don't have to waste my breath. Since you know this emperor's past, you should know that I'm not an ordinary bandit. I'm a supreme existence that plunders the heavenly Tao. If you follow me, you can all become supreme venerable sovereigns. The Ji people's 2nd Grandmaster said decisively, I'm willing to submit to venerable sovereign. I'll follow venerable sovereign and serve venerable sovereign. Some people were still hesitating. Some cultivators who were shackled in the prison shouted loudly, We're willing to submit to venerable sovereign. Now, even peerless sovereigns like the great elder of the punishment hall and Yi Ling started to waver. Su Fang's divine light swept over the Ji people's 2nd Grandmaster. He sneered, You really want to rely on this person? The Ji people's 2nd Grandmaster sneered, It's my great honor to become the slave of a venerable sovereign. Do you want me to rely on a mere Tao-fusing cultivator like you? That's called a great humiliation. The other sovereigns became more and more hesitant. Yi Luoyang said to Yi Ling, "Great Elder, why don't we? Things aren't that simple. Don't be impatient." As expected of an expert from the Yi clan who was only one step away from becoming a venerable sovereign, he could already tell that something was wrong with Jiang Taijie. The Buddha of Fortune sneered. Obviously, he wasn't moved by Jiang Taijie's words at all. Buddhist cultivators were indeed different. Their Buddhist hearts were far stronger than cultivators who cultivated other great Taoists. They wouldn't be easily shaken. Su Fang continued to say to the Ji people's second grandmaster, "This person is a resurrected expert. Do you plan to rely on a resurrected expert? You Ji people are in cahoots with the Devil Clan. It's not strange for you to rely on a venerable sovereign now." A resurrected expert? This peerless venerable sovereign is actually a resurrected expert? Everyone's divine light changed instantly as they exclaimed, "How can you see my true face?" Jiang Taijie's eyes surged with a vicious aura. An evil aura flashed by. This was equivalent to admitting that he was a resurrected expert. Everyone's expression changed drastically. The Ji people's second grandmaster's face turned ashen. For power and status, the Ji people could trade with the Devil Clan and obtain benefits from them. However, relying on a resurrected expert was equivalent to handing over one's life. Cultivators sought eternal immortality. Who would be willing to turn into an ice-cold corpse? In that case, he might as well die. Jiang Taijie laughed maniacally and said, "It seems that you still have a lot of prejudice against me and the resurrected experts. However, it doesn't matter. It won't be long before the heavens and earth change owners. Not only the heavens and earth, but every corner of the heavens and earth will become a world of resurrected experts. If you rely on me now, you will all be peerless venerable sovereigns in the future. You might even follow the supreme evil god and transcend this heavens and earth." Su Fang snorted. "I didn't expect that the resurrected venerable sovereigns would not only retain their consciousness but also have dreams. Furthermore, they are daydreaming. Since you're so stubborn, there's no need for you to exist." Jiang Taijie finally shed all pretense of cordiality. He no longer tempted them. With a wave of his hand, he formed a seal. In an instant, the power of the Prison Suppression Codex was activated by Jiang Taijie. Chains of order and shocking destructive thunder surged out from all directions, enveloping Su Fang, the Master Gods, and the Tao integration experts. Such terrifying divine power, although not at the level of a supreme venerable sovereign, was enough to suppress any god below the venerable sovereign level in the Prison Suppression Codex. Even venerable sovereigns would be shackled here. My guess was right. Su Fang was not only not shocked, but his eyes were shining brightly. Why was that? Jiang Taijie had only appeared as a clone formed by taking over Luo Xingtian's body. It was not his true body. It was not strange that he could not display the strength of a venerable sovereign. What surprised Su Fang was that Jiang Taijie did not display the evil power of resurrected experts. Instead, he used the power of the Prison Suppression Codex. This also meant that he could not display the power of resurrecting experts in the Prison Suppression Codex's divine artifact. The Prison Suppression Codex was a supreme divine artifact that specialized in suppressing all powerful existences that defied the heavenly Tao. Once the evil power was displayed, it would be suppressed by the power of the Prison Suppression Codex. Unless Jiang Taijie's true body merged the entire Prison Suppression Codex and corrupted it, turning it into an evil divine artifact of heaven's law, it was obviously impossible in a short period of time. Inferring from this, the possibility of escaping the Prison Suppression Codex was much greater than previously expected. However, I have to use the most powerful means to deal with it now. Although Su Fang was delighted, he did not dare to relax or be careless. After all, he was facing an extremely powerful existence at this moment. He had to fight to the death. He integrated all the power of his physical body, primordial spirit, and so on into the heaven and earth Tao palace. His true body disappeared. The divine power of the yin-yang world spread out and quickly turned into a real universe, enveloping the master gods and Tao integration experts, as well as most of the cultivators shackled in the cage. Boom, boom, boom. Su Fang's world collided with the power of the prison suppression codec. The surrounding formations shattered layer by layer. The cultivators who were not protected by Su Fang's world were instantly reduced to dust in the impact of the collision. The universe was rapidly suppressed, shrinking and collapsing layer by layer. Although Su Fang's inner world was extraordinary, his cultivation level was still at the Tao integration realm after all. He was not even a master god. Compared to the power of a peak master god, it was so insignificant. If Su Fang had not comprehended the supreme mystery of the heavenly Tao order and made his inner world more stable, the universe that he had transformed into would have collapsed in the instant of the collision, and he would be severely injured. However, Su Fang did not plan to use this to fight against a terrifying existence that was equivalent to a peak master god. He only used this to buy himself a moment of time. Just as the world collapsed layer by layer, Su Fang condensed in the universe. He reached out and the Origin Sacred Mirror appeared in his hand. Jiang Taijie looked through Su Fang's senior sister and saw the Origin Sacred Mirror in Su Fang's hand. His expression changed instantly. That's... Senior sister, help me. A yang spirit entered the central space of the mirror along with the yang qi. The Origin Sacred Mirror was indeed a supreme Dharma treasure that was superior to any divine weapon. Even the prison suppression codex could not stop Su Fang and Xu Wanjin from communicating through the Origin Sacred Mirror. Xu Wanjin, who had already arrived at the central space of the mirror through the black mirror, used the yin-yang transformation seal with Su Fang at the same time to activate the array formation inside the mirror. That's really the Origin Sacred Mirror? Impossible. How could the Origin Sacred Mirror fall into the hands of a mere Tao integration cultivator like you? With your meager strength, how could you possibly activate such a supreme divine artifact? Jiang Taijie did not expect to recognize the Origin Sacred Mirror. When he saw the surging yin-yang vortex on the surface of the Origin Sacred Mirror, he immediately exclaimed. Before the Origin Sacred Mirror's power erupted, its terrifying aura caused the entire space within the Prison Suppression Codex to tremble violently. Chapter 2308. Su Fang took the opportunity to take back the world and recondense it into his original form. The overgods and other cultivators that were enveloped in the world were all taken back into his body. At this moment, a terrifying divine power that could destroy heaven and earth erupted from the Origin Sacred Mirror. The Origin Sacred Mirror is a supreme divine artifact of a heavenly venerable. Even I can't resist it. Damn it, Jiang Taijie's face was full of panic. He retreated quickly and was about to pass through the array formation. The Origin Sacred Mirror erupted with a terrifying divine power that could reverse the heavenly Tao and transform all things. It instantly enveloped Jiang Taijie. Qi. Jiang Taijie and the surrounding array formation quickly shattered and turned into nothingness, returning to their original state. The Origin Sacred Mirror was so extraordinary. When Su Fang and Xu Wanjin used the yin-yang transformation to activate it, even the prison-suppressing codex trembled. Even the internal space began to collapse. I am an eternal supreme existence. Although the Origin Sacred Mirror is powerful, you, a mere Tao integration cultivator, can't activate its full power. Don't even think about suppressing me. Jiang Taijie roared. From the space of the suppressing Hell Codex, a shocking divine might swept out. It actually passed through the divine might of the Origin Sacred Mirror and wrapped around Jiang Taijie. Then, it forcefully pulled him out of the divine might of the Origin Sacred Mirror and disappeared into the vast array around him. It was obvious that Jiang Taijie's original body had activated the power of the prison suppressing codex at all costs to save this clone that had taken over Luo Xingtian's body. However, the terrifying power of the Origin Sacred Mirror had also severely injured Jiang Taijie's clone. He had suffered a great loss this time. It's a pity that I couldn't kill Jiang Taijie. This is troublesome. Su Fang put away the Origin Sacred Mirror and felt a sense of regret. Jiang Taijie's clone had merged the bloodlines of Luo Xingtian and Luo Yunqian, so it could activate the power of the prison suppressing codex. If he killed it, it would be equivalent to crippling more than half of Jiang Taijie's strength. It would be much easier to deal with his original body. As soon as Su Fang put the mirror into his body, he immediately staggered and swayed. His god body was much thinner. He looked as thin as a twig. His face was old and his hair was white. His aura was dispirited. His face even had the death spots that only a dying man would have. He looked like an old man who was about to die. The price we paid this time is too heavy. Trembling, he sat down cross-legged. He reluctantly took out a dozen or so good fortune Saint pills and trembled as he put them into his mouth. He looked incomparably weak, as if an ordinary person could kill him. Shu Wanjin's weak voice came along with the cold air. Su Fang, you're about to step into the 8th transformation. You and I worked together to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror. Although it consumed a lot of energy, it shouldn't be to this extent, right? Su Fang chuckled. Senior Marshal Sister, don't worry. I have a brilliant plan. With my current strength, I can only work with you to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror once, and I'm blocked by the Prison Suppression Codex. Using the Origin Sacred Mirror to communicate with you is several times more draining than before. You'll have to rely on yourself for the rest. I won't be able to help you with anything else. Shu Wanjin sighed and her voice gradually faded away. Within the world within Su Fang's body, the experts who had been sucked into the world within his body were all dumbfounded. It was as if countless thunderbolts were rumbling in their heads. Who is this Yin-Yang Godlord? He actually has the ability to kill a peak over god. No, that Jiang Taijie's strength is almost beyond that of a peak over god. What's the origin of that divine artifact called the Origin Sacred Mirror? How can it possess such astonishing power? The peerless overgods who had been freed from their shackles secretly communicated with one another. They were all trying to guess Su Fang's identity. At the same time, they were all shocked and astonished by Su Fang's strength. Luoyang hesitated for a moment before sending a secret message to the expert of the Yi clan. Yi Ling, the world that the Yin-Yang God Lord used is extremely similar to Su Fang's. Moreover, after Su Fang entered the divine prison of law, he never appeared again. I suspect, Yi Ling was greatly shocked. You're saying that the Yin-Yang God Lord is most likely Su Fang? Then, he shook his head and rejected this speculation. Impossible. Although Su Fang is the #1 genius of Yuan Tiangong and cultivates the supreme heavenly Tao and has even formed a small world within his body, allowing him to fight against ordinary overgods, no matter how heaven-defying he is, how can he be so heaven-defying? Luoyang found it rather difficult to conclude. Logically speaking, it's impossible for Su Fang to possess such strength. It's also impossible for him to use such a supreme divine artifact. After pondering for a moment, Luoyang continued, Grand Elder, what kind of divine artifact is the Origin Sacred Mirror? It can even suppress Jiang Taijie. If we take it... Shut up! Yi Ling interrupted Luoyang. We'll talk about this after we leave the prison suppressing codex. Everyone, quickly enter my natal magic treasure. Jiang Taijie will return at any moment. Su Fang transmitted his thoughts. The voice of his Yuan spirit rang out in the minds of the overgods and Tao integration experts who had been freed from their shackles. Then, a magic treasure in the shape of a pagoda flew out from the depths of his inner world. The aura of this pagoda was extraordinary. Just like the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda, it had a total of 6 floors. Each floor was blooming with a different color of xianguang. A mysterious aura of creation lingered around the pagoda. This is the Yin-Yang God Lord's natal magic treasure? It actually has the aura of creation. In the future, it will evolve into a supreme creation divine artifact. Extraordinary! The Yin-Yang God Lord is indeed extraordinary. Everyone exclaimed in surprise, and some even felt greedy. Every single overgod was extraordinary. Most of them possessed a destiny god artifact, but none of them possessed a destiny god artifact like the tower before them. Don't resist. All of you enter the space of the pagoda. Swish, swish. The doors opened one by one and unleashed their might, sucking all the overgods and experts into the space within the tower. Even the second patriarch of the G people, who had not been freed from the shackles of the prison-suppressing codex, and the other rescued cultivators, were all sucked into other spaces within the pagoda by Su Fang. This was mainly to prevent the second patriarch of the G people from causing trouble. Although the possibility of that happening was not high, Su Fang still did not dare to be careless. The second patriarch of the G people fell into complete despair. This was equivalent to falling into Su Fang's control. His life and death were at the mercy of Su Fang. After doing all this, Su Fang reluctantly sat down in the space within the prison-suppressing codex. Looking at the vast space in the depths of the array formation, Su Fang's eyes were filled with worry. He muttered to himself, "Such heavy injuries and exhaustion." Fortunately, Jiang Taijie was scared away. Otherwise, whoosh! A figure shuttled out of the array formation within the prison-suppressing codex. It was Jiang Taijie who had returned. He had been injured by the divine power of the primordial chaos sacred mirror, and was now in a severely injured state. His handsome face was shrouded in a layer of gray. His body was full of injuries from the yin and yang divine power released by the primordial chaos sacred mirror. It would be difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. He looked extremely miserable. However, his eyes were filled with pride as he looked at Su Fang. Low-level existence. Although you have the primordial chaos sacred mirror, it's a pity that your strength is too weak. You can only activate it once at most. Let's see how arrogant you can be next. Then, he revealed a look of surprise and joy. I have to thank you for sending the primordial chaos sacred mirror to me. With such a supreme divine artifact, I can dominate the entire world. Who can be my match? When the time comes, I will go to the celestial venerable mountain and release the supreme evil god. I will definitely be heavily rewarded. The primordial chaos sacred mirror is a divine artifact used by celestial venerables. Su Fang asked weakly. Jiang Taijie shouted domineeringly, "You have the wrong idea if you want to get information from me. Besides, I don't know much about the primordial chaos sacred mirror. The only thing you can do now is despair and anger." It's not the time to despair yet. Su Fang flipped his palm and took out the god-slaying saber. However, his strength was almost exhausted. He couldn't even hold the god-slaying saber tightly. He was even inferior to a mortal martial artist, let alone activate a divine artifact. Jiang Taijie was very proud. Obediently take out the primordial chaos sacred mirror. Then, I will devour your life bit by bit. I will let you know what kind of punishment you will receive for disobeying me. With that, he took a step towards Su Fang and casually grabbed. A divine power quickly enveloped Su Fang. The blood energy in Su Fang's body surged out uncontrollably. Even the primordial chaos sacred mirror in the heaven and earth Tao palace trembled and was about to fly out of his body. Bang! A fierce murderous aura suddenly flashed in Su Fang's eyes, and the dispirited state of his body was swept away. At this moment, Su Fang was activating his natal Dharma treasure in his body, revealing his natal state. The 6-story pagoda was filled with the aura of creation. It was very similar to the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, but its abilities were different. Its power was far from what the previous Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda could compare to. QL11 tut tut tut. Layers of pagoda doors rapidly opened in his body. The divine power immediately escaped into Su Fang's flesh and blood, as well as the divine power of the yin-yang world. Inside the pagoda, the Punishment Hall Grand Elder, the Black-Robed Elder, and the other Lord Gods, as well as more than 20 Tao integration experts, all released their dermic powers and energy into the pagoda. This feeling is really shocking and powerful. The power from these experts first entered the pagoda. Then, it merged with the pagoda and quickly seeped into Su Fang's body and heaven and earth Tao Palace. It was completed in a flash. Su Fang's eyes shone brightly. Such a natal Dharma treasure is 10 times more powerful than the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. It can even merge with the divine essence of a peerless Lord God, and even various great Taos and laws, turning them into power that I can control. Good. With such a natal Dharma treasure, my strength will skyrocket. Who can stop me from ascending to the peak? Now, Su Fang had the power of 4 peerless Lord Gods and more than 20 Tao integration experts. He had surpassed the original 6th heaven of Tao integration and rapidly surpassed the Tao integration realm, reaching the limit of the Lord God realm. This was the terrifying power of a natal Dharma treasure. It was also the supreme strength that Su Fang had brought after tens of thousands of years of merging and improvement. Su Fang shouted domineeringly. The god-slaying saber was activated, and a shocking saber light swept out. You're just a Tao integration ant. How can you suddenly have such shocking strength? Jiang Taijie was caught off guard and was cut in half by the saber light. His divine body was turned into pieces in the terrifying murderous aura. Even his yang spirit could not escape in time. Chapter 2309. My doppelganger, despicable, truly despicable. Without this doppelganger, it means that it will be difficult for me to fuse with the Prison Suppression Codex and escape the shackles of the Prison Suppression Codex. You lowly ant, I will definitely suppress you, pull out your tendons, skin you, and then sacrifice you to the evil god. You will struggle in the sea of bitterness for eternity. Jiang Taijie's roar came from the surrounding formation like a tide. The space within the Prison Suppression Codex trembled under the roar. Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. Jiang Taijie, I'm afraid you're at your wits' end now, aren't you? Even if you didn't come to me, I would have gone to the central space of the Prison Suppression Codex to look for you. Don't be so smug. Do you think you can escape from the Prison Suppression Codex just because you destroyed one of my doppelganger? Not only you and those ant-like cultivators, but the entire universe will be buried by my own hands. Jiang Taijie's voice that was filled with evil gradually drifted further and further away in the array formation space before finally disappearing without a trace. It seems that this revived Dizun has even more powerful means. I have to get rid of him as soon as possible and then find a way to leave the Prison Suppression Codex. However, my current situation, after sensing his divine body inside and outside, Su Fang could not help but smile bitterly. Previously, in order to lure and kill Jiang Taijie's doppelganger, Su Fang pretended to be seriously injured. Now, his disguise was slightly better, but it was not much better. The most important thing was that, after the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace transformed into the universe, it had collided with Jiang Taijie and almost collapsed. It could not be restored to its previous peak state just by restoring the power of the yin-yang world. There was also the natal Dharma treasure. This pagoda-shaped natal Dharma treasure was the fusion of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda and the natal Dharma treasure. It had not been completely nurtured. This time, Su Fang used the natal Dharma treasure to fuse with 4 lord powerhouses. Furthermore, they were all powerful upper-rank lords. One could imagine the pressure the natal Dharma treasure was under. Although it did not collapse, There were already many cracks in the internal formation and the body of the pagoda. It needs a long time to nurture it. It also needs the 6 natural spiritual items of heaven and earth to continuously recover before the natal Dharma treasure can continue to be used. Su Fang felt a burst of pain in his heart. The damage to his natal magic treasure was the same as his own injuries. There was no difference. However, the new life-bound magic treasure was far more powerful than the mysterious Yellow 6 Paths Pagoda. There were also some abilities that the mysterious Yellow 6 Paths Pagoda did not have before. This natal Dharma treasure is still called Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda. Next, I'll have to suppress more experts and great demons to serve as the great commanders and minor commanders of the Black and Yellow 6 Path. The Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda had followed Su Fang from the pocket world until now. Su Fang was extremely attached to it. Although it had fused into a new natal Dharma treasure, Su Fang still named it Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda. He took out the pagoda divine artifact and entered the internal space of the natal Dharma treasure. Su Fang still looked like a heroic middle-aged man. Therefore, only his true body could enter the natal Dharma treasure. If he used his sun spirit, his identity would be exposed. Su Fang was now secretly glad that he had the foresight to disguise himself. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable if the origin sacred mirror was exposed. He could not suppress all these supreme lords. The main reason was that he did not have the strength. Even with the help of the new Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda, it would be difficult to suppress so many lords. With their strength, it would not be difficult for them to break through the internal space of the natal Dharma treasure. Mighty is the Enyang God Lord. You can even kill a half-step sovereign expert. I admire you, Enyang God Lord. The great elder of Punishment Hall, the black-robed elder, the Buddha of Good Fortune, and the Yi-clan expert Yi Ling all cupped their fists at Su Fang, their eyes full of reverence. Chu Bingyan, Qian Gang, and the other Yuan Tiangong geniuses all looked at him with eyes full of admiration and reverence. Those Tao integration experts looked at Su Fang as if they were facing a supreme lord. They were even stronger than a supreme lord. The great elder of Punishment Hall asked politely, Enyang God Lord, you killed Jiang Taiji's clone. His true body is clearly shackled by the prison-suppressing codex. Can he leave the prison-suppressing codex now? Everyone looked at Su Fang. I'm afraid things aren't that simple. Although you successfully killed Jiang Taiji's clone, it doesn't mean you're safe in the prison-suppressing codex. We have to go to the central space of the prison-suppressing codex. First, we have to find a way to kill Jiang Taiji's true body. Second, we have to find a way to fuse with the prison-suppressing codex and master the hand seals to control it. Otherwise, it will be difficult to leave the prison-suppressing codex. Su Fang's words greatly disappointed everyone. The divine prison of law was the supreme prison of the exalted celestial mountain, and the prison-suppressing codex was the divine artifact that controlled the divine prison of law. Even a supreme sovereign might not be able to shatter the space of the prison-suppressing codex from the inside, let alone a lord's strength. QL11 Su Fang continued in a low voice, Jiang Taijie is a supreme sovereign expert, and a revived one at that. It's impossible for him to only have these few tricks up his sleeve. The great elder of Punishment Hall and the others nodded. Su Fang continued, it won't be that easy to kill him, and I can no longer use the powerful method I used to kill his clone. However, if we don't get rid of him, we can still escape. Therefore, I plan to enter the central space immediately after I recover. What do you all think? Enyang Godlord, please let us out of your artifact space. We used up quite a lot of energy just now and need to recover. The Yuan Tiangong Great Elder of Punishment Hall said, deciding to leave Su Fang's artifact space. The Yi-clan expert Yi Ling also said, Your Excellency's artifact seems to have been damaged quite a bit and needs to recover as well. It's very inconvenient for us to stay here. These people were clearly wary of Su Fang. After all, they were in Su Fang's artifact space and were under Su Fang's control, which made them feel uneasy. Moreover, Yi Ling and Yi Luoyang had fought with Su Fang in the Divine Prison of Law's main hall before, so they were naturally wary of Su Fang. In fact, their fear was not without reason. Su Fang was definitely not a kind person. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't suppress all of them with his strength, Su Fang would have taken them all in as his subordinates without hesitation. Especially Yi Ling and Yi Luoyang. Su Fang had long wanted to kill them. If he had the chance, he wouldn't mind getting rid of the two of them. Su Fang naturally understood their thoughts, but he didn't expose them. A Tao Integration Realm elder suddenly said, "I'm Lord Huadong, an itinerant cultivator. In the past, I had some fame in the myriad of worlds. I'm willing to submit to the Yin-Yang God Lord. Please accept me." Lord Huadong, Su Fang fixed his eyes on it. This was an expert at the peak of the Tao Integration Realm. In the myriad of worlds, he could definitely be considered an overlord, but he was an itinerant cultivator. He didn't expect that such a peerless expert would take the initiative to submit to him. This made Su Fang very surprised. The Golden Rainbow Monarch's voice came from the depths of his body. "This old guy isn't stupid. He's a big shot in the outside world, but in the prison-suppressing codex, he's less than an ant. He could die at any time. Only by following you can he have a chance to live. How could he miss this opportunity?" Following this, more than a dozen Tao Integration Realm experts expressed their willingness to submit to Su Fang. Then, Su Fang released the four peerless godlords, Chu Bingyan and the other Yuan Tiangong geniuses, as well as more than a dozen Tao Integration Realm experts who didn't want to submit to him, from the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. However, Su Fang didn't release the Ji people's second forefather and those cultivators who were rescued by Su Fang. Su Fang had a great enmity with the Ji people. Now that the Ji people's second forefather was under his control, how could he let him go so easily? As for those experts who were still shackled, Su Fang didn't plan to release them either. There were more than 2,000 experts. Among them, there were more than 300 Tao Integration Realm experts. How could Su Fang let go of this opportunity to subdue these experts? With so many experts, Su Fang could establish a powerful force in the myriad of worlds. Next, Su Fang seized the time to recover. First, he used the power of the Heavenly Tao Order to create an array formation inside the prison-suppressing codex to isolate the surroundings. Then, he separated the array formation into several independent array spaces. Then, he moved the more than a dozen experts from the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, including Huadong Jun, a total of 17 late-stage Tao Integration Realm experts, out of their life-bound magic treasures. Everyone! Su Fang's eyes flashed with a domineering luster as his gaze swept past the 17 experts. The 17 experts, including Huadong Jun, felt a chill in their hearts. They felt as if they were facing a supreme overlord. Su Fang said majestically, "Although you're willing to submit to me, I have no choice but to imprison your primordial spirits and spiritual abodes to prevent you from making any unwise moves in the future." Some of the experts looked hesitant. "I know what you're hesitating about. You're just worried that I'll use you as cannon fodder in the future. After I imprison you, I'll naturally tell you my true identity. In addition, I'll also promise you that I'll never be stingy with resources to the experts under my command. I'll also never treat them as cannon fodder. If you don't agree, you can choose to leave now. I won't stop you. However, I have to remind you that with your strength inside the prison-suppressing codex, the only outcome is death." Su Fang's words caused the experts' expressions to change slightly. Huadong Jun no longer hesitated and cupped his fist. "Since Master has said so, I'll leave everything to the Master God." The other experts also expressed their willingness to submit. "That's good. I guarantee that becoming my subordinates will be a turning point in your lives." Su Fang immediately used the power of the Chaos Sacred Realm as the source and fused it with his own power to form a special seal. After the 17 experts released their primordial spirits, he immediately cast the seal in their primordial spirits and also injected the power of the other shackles into their bodies. In this way, Su Fang no longer had to worry about a rebellion. Everyone, it's time to let you know my true identity. Su Fang used the aura of the fruit of sin, and a layer of human skin immediately fell off from his divine body, revealing his original appearance. Chapter 23:10. Su Fang. Huadong Jun and the other 17 newly recruited subordinates were all deeply shocked. The number one prodigy of the Yuan Tiangong, the peerless existence of the imperial people personally conferred the title of Holy Son. Su Fang's name had long since spread to every small world in the universe. How could these subordinates not know of Su Fang? Unexpectedly, the Yinyang God Lord was actually Su Fang. Even more unexpectedly, Su Fang was far more powerful than the rumors said. He could even kill peerless existences at the peak of the over-god realm. Of course, this was also because Su Fang had grasped the power of the heavenly Tao order within the prison-suppressing codex, which highlighted his strength. Even so, such a battle record was truly astonishing. A supremacy who had cultivated for less than 1,000,000 years already possessed such terrifying strength. What kind of astonishing existence would he become in another 10 million years or an epoch? These subordinates found it hard to imagine. What made these subordinates wild with joy was that not only did the legendary Su Fang have the greatest talent and strength in the Yuan Tiangong, but he was also always generous to his subordinates. For the sake of his subordinates, he did not hesitate to clash with the colossus of the Luo clan. How could Huadong Jun and the others not be pleasantly surprised to have such a supremacy? At this moment, their only thought was that they had encountered a great fortune and opportunity that they had never encountered in their lives. Then, Su Fang rolled out one Xian Guang after another, distributing pills and resources to his subordinate. These elixirs and resources were all ancient elixirs and resources that Su Fang had obtained from the punishment hall in the divine prison of Heaven's Law. They were rich with the aura of time and were of great help to the cultivation of these Tao-fusing experts. In addition, Su Fang also took out heaven-responding pills. Each of them received 2 pills. Any more would be meaningless. Then, Su Fang formed a seal with his hands. Seeds of the power of the heavenly Tao order instantly formed and were given to his subordinates to cultivate. With these seeds, the shackles they faced in the prison-suppressing codex would be greatly reduced. Their cultivation speed would also be much faster. This one must thank Master. Huadong Jun cupped his fists at Su Fang and said sincerely, "We are all rogue cultivators. In the eyes of ordinary true gods, we are all high and mighty experts. However, how would they know that we don't have any background to rely on? Neither are we willing to become the slaves of those super forces and clans. Living in the divine world, we have to endure the coldness and warmth of the human world. We have seen all the rules of the human world. Who would have thought that Master would treat us like this?" The other experts also looked at Su Fang gratefully. "Cultivate diligently. This king hopes that you can quickly grow into a master god, or even an emperor. However, the most important thing right now is to quickly recover, get through this crisis together, and kill our way out of the inner space of the prison suppression codex," Su Fang said embarrassedly. Then, he sent everyone to an independent array space to cultivate. "Brat, I didn't expect you to be so good at buying people's hearts. You've managed to make so many experts unswervingly loyal to you all of a sudden." The Golden Rainbow King spoke from the depths of his inner world. "I'm just exchanging my heart for yours. It's not like I'm buying people's hearts," Su Fang said indifferently. He sat cross-legged in the array and took out pills, spiritual items, and blood crystals. He used his physical body to recover the life force and the power of the yin-yang world that he had consumed. In his current state, he couldn't use the heaven underworld to devour resources to recover. In the inner space of the prison suppression codex, he couldn't create a time array to cultivate. Naturally, the speed of his recovery was very slow. However, the so-called slow speed was naturally relative. In Su Fang's current state, if he was an ordinary true god, even if he didn't lack various pills, spiritual items, and other resources, he would need hundreds of thousands or even millions of years to recover. About 100 years later, Su Fang finally recovered a little. At this time, he formed a seal and collapsed his physical body layer by layer, transforming into the heaven underworld state. In this way, his recovery speed was more than 10 times faster. In the blood water, the flame of life gradually ignited, and the area was constantly expanding. Su Fang began to condense his physical body in the blood water. He reached out and grabbed, and the rainbow stone lotus appeared in his hand. Rainbow stone lotus, oh rainbow stone lotus, I hope you can help me successfully condense the 72nd yang meridian in the prison suppressing codex and step into the 8th transformation. That way, I will have a greater chance of killing Jiang Taijie's true body and escaping the prison suppressing codex. It turned out that Su Fang was preparing to fuse with the rainbow stone lotus and attempt to condense the 72nd yang meridian. The stone lotus that emitted a rainbow brilliance was like the manifestation of the heavenly Tao's laws and order. It contained the heavenly Tao's origin power of order. This power naturally shackled and restrained the world. The operation and evolution of the heavenly Tao couldn't be separated from the power of order. Su Fang stripped his blood essence, consciousness, and the power of the yin-yang world and seeped into the rainbow stone lotus. Unexpectedly, the rainbow stone lotus was nearly unshakable. If not for Su Fang's profound understanding of the heavenly Tao's order profundities, and the fact that the rainbow stone lotus was placed in the chaos divine mirror's internal space and fused with the mirror's aura, even his blood wouldn't have been able to seep into it. The rainbow stone lotus absorbed the matter and power of the Sin Garden and condensed after countless years of precipitation. How could it be so easy to fuse with it? Back when he fused with the golden lotus stone flower, it was difficult for him to fuse with it easily. He had to borrow the power of the heavenly tribulation to barely fuse with it. The golden lotus stone flower was the world fragment of a small world, let alone the rainbow stone lotus that contained the heavenly Tao's origin power of order. Such a treasure, because no deity could fuse with it at all, if not for Su Fang's various special abilities. He wouldn't even think about it. Left with no choice, Su Fang could only be patient and grind it bit by bit. Just as Su Fang was cultivating and recovering, those over-god experts and the dozen or so cultivators were also in the internal space of the prison suppressing codex. Some were cultivating and recovering, while others were looking for a way out. Yiling searched the internal space of the formation once, and finally returned with a gloomy face. Yi Luoyang secretly sent a voice transmission, "Grand Elder, how is it?" Yiling snorted. "At the end of the formation space is an extremely powerful barrier. With my strength, it's hard to break through the barrier. There's no way out at all." "Then what should we do?" Yi Luoyang immediately panicked. "From the looks of it now, we can only rely on that yin-yang god lord. There's another way, and that is to try to kill him and seize that supreme divine artifact called the Origin Sacred Mirror. Perhaps there's still a chance to escape from the prison suppressing codex." Yiling's deep eyes exuded coldness, causing Yi Luoyang to involuntarily shiver. "Let's wait and see first. It's best to wait until both Yin-Yang God Lord and Jiang Taijie's original body are injured before I take action to seize the Origin Sacred Mirror. I've arranged for you to subdue those dozen or so experts. How's it going? A total of 9 experts have agreed to join my clan, but these experts' strength is ordinary, and they won't be of much use. Let's keep these people first. When the time comes, they can be used as cannon fodder." Grand Elder is wise. In the chaotic area formed after the divine prison of heaven's law shattered, Ashen Flame C and Su Fang's guards all stayed outside, clinging to a sliver of hope that a miracle would happen. There were also many cultivators who stayed outside, and many experts had arrived, including those from Yuan Tiangong's Punishment Hall, Yi Clan, Sanskrit, Luo Clan and other super factions. Just as everyone was paying attention to the chaotic area, two figures quietly appeared in the sky above the Origin sacred mirror. These two figures were concealed by a supreme divine power. Not only those ordinary cultivators, but even some venerable sovereigns who were paying attention to this area from time to time did not discover their existence. One of the black-clothed women was Goddess Luo. Su Fang had encountered such a major incident in the divine prison of Heaven's law, and no one knew whether he was dead or alive. How could she not be concerned? After the news of the strange changes in the divine prison of Heaven's law reached Yuan Tiangong, Goddess Luo and Xuanxin agreed that Xuanxin would stay behind to oversee the Fang Tianjie, in order to prevent someone from taking advantage of the situation to harm Su Fang's family like last time. Goddess Luo came to the periphery of the divine palace of Advent, and she was not alone. There was an old man with her. This old man was dressed in a simple gray robe. He had a head of snow-white hair, and even his eyebrows and beard were as white as snow. His face was full of wrinkles, and his eyes were cloudy. He looked like a muddle-headed old man. "Godfather, please save me this time, no matter what," Goddess Luo pleaded bitterly. Clearly, this was not the first time she had pleaded with this old man. There was a long silence. The gray-robed old man sighed and said, "Girl, I've repeatedly warned you not to get involved with the karma of fate in this universe. In the end, you... Fine, I'll help you this time. However, after I help you this time, it means that you and Su Fang have settled your karma. From then on, you will be strangers. Are you willing to agree?" Goddess Luo bit her lips so hard that blood seeped out. When the gray-robed old man said that they would be strangers from now on, it was definitely not something he said casually. He wanted to use a supreme divine power to sever the fate connection between her and Su Fang. Even if they met in the future, they would be strangers. The life that happened in the illusion of the disillusionment heart-killing mirror, as well as the scenes that happened after, flashed across Goddess Luo's mind. QL 11-inch I'll agree, Godfather. Goddess Luo closed her eyes as tears rolled down from the corners of her eyes. You should have done this long ago. The gray-robed old man formed an extremely profound hand seal with his hands, and the scene of the chaotic region below was reflected in his eyes. Then, there was a series of changes, and an unfathomable and transcendent divine might flashed, landing in the chaotic region. The scenes of the chaotic region kept changing in his eyes, from the chaotic matter and airflow on the surface to the chaotic energy movement in the deeper depths, and even the ethereal secrets of heaven. Everything appeared mysteriously in his eyes. The old man's hair gradually turned from snow-white to gray-white, and his face also turned from old to younger. Becoming younger seemed to be a great harm to the old man. His body trembled slightly, and beads of sweat kept seeping out of his forehead. Furthermore, the old man's exhaustion was not from using divine might, but from nature. He felt that the entire heavenly Tao was rejecting him, trying to expel him from this world. At this moment, he was resisting the entire world with his own strength. The old man suddenly exclaimed. Goddess Luo was nervous. Godfather, what happened? Chapter 23:11. Inside the prison suppressing codex. Su Fang, in his heaven underworld state, wantonly devoured the creation saint pills and the ancient pills he had obtained from the punishment hall, as well as various spiritual items. After recovering the depleted power of the yin-yang world, the rainbow stone lotus still failed to fuse. Su Fang knew that he could not be impatient and could only proceed step by step. Therefore, while he was fusing with the rainbow stone lotus, he grabbed another corpse. It was the hunchbacked expert from Sanskrit whom he had killed. He had previously devoured a lot of his life essence and cultivation. At that moment, the corpse was a bloody mess. There was no skin, only flesh and bones. It looked terrifying. Whoosh! A gush of bloody water swept the corpse into a sea of blood. As it floated, it sizzled and corroded, becoming part of the bloody water. Just like that, everything that belonged to the hunchbacked expert was given to Su Fang. The hunchbacked expert from Sanskrit was a powerful middle-rank lord. His life essence and cultivation were extremely shocking. Under the activation of the 9 yang 9 changes, the 71 yang meridians and the world tree absorbed all the energy in his body at an astonishing speed. This caused Su Fang's body to be filled with the power of the yin-yang world. He continuously charged toward the peak of the 6th firmament of Tao integration. Under the impact of wave after wave of attacks, the meridians in his body continued to expand. Su Fang knew that he was not far from advancing to the 7th firmament. In order to strive for an early breakthrough, he took out hundreds of creation saint pills and directly swallowed them with his bloody water. With the help of the medicinal power and the power of the yin-yang world, he circulated them again and again, constantly attacking his meridians, bones, flesh, and even his divine aperture. The dermic power in his divine aperture was also constantly boiling. His yang spirit was automatically peeling off, transforming, and fusing. He was in a state of self-cultivation. About 10 years later, a burst of tribulation aura rushed out of his body. Then, with a whoosh, flames burned wildly. They were all tribulation fire. Su Fang activated the 9 yang divine fire and the illusory fire cloud. Together with the tribulation fire, his body rapidly broke apart, and impurities kept gushing out. Su Fang felt like his entire body was about to explode and incinerate. He was in immense pain. After persevering for a period of time, he welcomed the power of ascension and cleansed his marrow. His body also began to fuse from its shattered state. His meridians and corporeal body were becoming more profound. At the same time, he discovered that the heavenly marks in his body were melting. 3 heavenly marks separated from them, and most of them were the aura of Su Fang's heavenly Tao. Tao integration 7th heaven. Although it was only a small step from the 6th heaven to the 7th heaven, the significance was extraordinary. It meant that Su Fang had advanced from the mid-stage to the late-stage Tao integration realm. Su Fang heaved a long sigh of relief and continued to swallow pills to restore his empty body. Next, he had to reach the normal state of the 7th layer of heaven as soon as possible, and then enter the central space. Suddenly, an incomparably transcendent divine might actually penetrated through the layers of formations of the suppressing prison codex. The formations created by Su Fang were also rendered useless as they suddenly descended. Su Fang was astounded. Who is this person? How could he possess such terrifying divine might? Fortunately, it's not Jiang Taijia. His divine might must contain the aura of death. At this moment, a primordial spirit appeared along with the divine might. It quickly condensed into a lifelike primordial spirit shadow that belonged to Goddess Luo. Su Fang was shocked and stunned. Goddess, how could it be you? Goddess Luo's primordial spirit shadow revealed an anxious expression. Su Fang, the matter is urgent and time is of the essence. My godfather's divine might cannot be maintained for long. I have to make it short. Your godfather? Su Fang realized that the matter was very serious. Goddess Luo's origin was mysterious. Her godfather must be a transcendent being. Now that his divine might had descended into the interior of the suppressing prison codex, it could be seen how terrifying his strength was. It was completely beyond Su Fang's imagination. Even a venerable Dharch could not do it. Su Fang, someone broke the divine prison of heaven's law and turned the suppressing prison codex into nothingness, merging it into the ethereal heavenly Tao. Now, no one can save you from the suppressing prison codex, not even a venerable Dharch, unless a heavenly venerable takes action personally. Merging the suppressing prison codex into the heavenly Tao, Su Fang was dumbfounded. His mind was in a mess. This was completely beyond his scope of understanding. At this moment, a calm and old voice sounded from the divine might. Kid, quickly tell me what happened in the divine prison of heaven's law. Su Fang knew that this person was Goddess Luo's godfather. He did not dare to hesitate and immediately told him everything that had happened, except for the origin sacred mirror. I see. The old man snorted coldly. Senior, may I ask what exactly happened? What scheme does Jiang Taijie have? The resurrected Venerable Dharch called Jiang Taijie merged the suppressing prison codex into the heavenly Tao. He did not want to kill you, but he has a huge scheme. If I'm not wrong, his original body must have the heaven supervising token. With the help of the Luo clan's bloodline, he has already merged with the heaven supervising token. Otherwise, he would not have been able to break the divine prison of heaven's law. Next, he will use his evil power to corrupt the heaven supervising token. Su Fang asked in confusion, what's the use of him corrupting the heaven supervising token? The heaven supervising token is a supreme divine artifact that controls the order of the heavenly Tao. If he merges the heaven supervising token and then merges it with the heavenly Tao, it means that the entire order of the heavenly Tao will be corrupted, and the order of the heavenly Tao will fall into chaos. When that time comes, there will no longer be any order in the heavens and the earth of the myriad worlds. Think about it. What kind of situation will that be? Su Fang sucked in a cold breath. Although he still did not quite understand Jiang Taijie's methods, he understood one thing. Once Jiang Taijie succeeded, the order of the heavenly Tao would be corrupted, and the universe would fall into chaos. The consequences would be so serious that it exceeded Su Fang's imagination. The universe had changed continuously, and the heavenly Tao had been corrupted by evil power. It had already made it difficult for gods to advance, and it was even difficult for them to attract the chaotic divine tribulation. Jiang Taijie's use of the heaven supervising token to corrupt the order of the heavenly Tao was not an exaggeration. It was completely possible. That elder sneered. Good move. That descent is indeed a good move. So you have already buried such a chess piece in the divine prison of heaven. Impressive, truly impressive. Descent? Senior, what does the descent have to do with the descent divine palace? You don't need to know about this. Kid, listen well. You will definitely die this time. Actually, all the gods in this universe, and even all living things in this universe are about to be destroyed. If you have any last words, quickly tell them to this girl. The elder said helplessly, and his voice gradually faded away. Goddess Luo hurriedly said, Foster father, please save Su Fang. After a moment of silence, the elder's voice sounded again. There's no way to save him. No one can reverse the heavenly Tao. Not only him, but this universe is also hopeless. Su Fang revealed a resolute expression. Senior, although I am weak, I know that I have to fight for any opportunity. As long as I am still alive, I will not give up. Senior, please advise me on how to stop Jiang Taijie. The elder sighed. Your courage is commendable, but what's the use? Of course there is a way. You are just a Tao integration realm cultivator. It's impossible. Su Fang's spirit was lifted. Senior, please advise me. It's very simple. Go and kill Jiang Taijie's original body now. Can you do it? Not to mention that he is a Dharch. He did not hesitate to die and used his own death aura to corrupt the heaven supervising token. Not to mention you, even the strongest of the imperial people can't stop him. Moreover, you don't have much time left. At most, in another 10,000 years, the prison suppressing codex will completely merge with the heavenly Tao. Everything in the prison suppressing codex will disappear into the heavenly Tao. The elder sighed, and then his voice disappeared without a trace. Su Fang also fell into silence. QL11 conflict, palpitations, and even despair. His heart was like dead ashes. The general trend was irreversible. All his previous efforts were in vain. Goddess Luo's essence soul also became illusory. She stared at Su Fang with misty eyes and said faintly, "Su Fang, I will never regret being with you." Su Fang stretched out his hand and gently stroked the face of Goddess Luo's essence soul. "I have no regrets either." This scene was shockingly similar to the final moment when the two of them died in the chaos in the disillusionment heart-killing mirror. Goddess Luo's essence soul gradually became illusory and finally disappeared into the space inside the prison-suppressing codex with the Elder's divine might. Su Fang remained in place for a long time. From the small world to the great world, and then from the great world to the myriad worlds, the scenes that happened, everyone and everything that happened flashed through his mind. Gradually, his eyes were no longer confused. Instead, they became determined and revealed a sense of determination. From the small world to where I am now, I fell countless times and climbed up countless times. In the end, I surpassed the peak time after time to achieve what I have today. How many times have I faced a desperate situation? I didn't give up even though I knew that I would die. A moth knows that it will be burned alive if it flies into a flame, but it still doesn't turn back. A meteor flashes and disappears, but it still has to shine brilliantly before it dies. Am I, Su Fang, inferior to that moth and that meteor? Even if I'm going to die, I, Su Fang, will never give up. Like that moth and that meteor, I'll shine brilliantly for the last time. Su Fang's eyes were bright. The depression and despair from before were immediately swept away. His body suddenly rose from the blood water. The blood water and the blood sky rolled and gathered towards his body, quickly forming a physical body. Then, he changed his appearance and aura with the human skin again. He put Lord Huadong and the other subordinates into his inner world and walked out of the array. Everyone, Su Fang slowly told the Grand Elder of the Punishment Hall and the other overgods what was going to happen next. Those overgods and a dozen other cultivators were all shocked and desperate. Some of them were doubtful. I'm going to the central space of the prison-suppressing codex to find Jiang Taijie and fight him to the death. Those who are willing to follow me, follow me. Chapter 23:12. They all looked at Su Fang's back. Everyone fell silent. Even a peerless master god would feel despair in the face of death. The Buddha of creation suddenly burst into laughter. We're going to die anyway. Besides, we Buddhist cultivators have already seen through life and death. If we can fight a peerless sovereign before we die, our deaths will be worth it. Qiangang, follow me to fight that revived sovereign. If you dare to cower and tarnish the reputation of our Buddhist sect, I won't let you off easily. After saying that, he quickly fused with the energy seed Su Fang gave him. I just got a lot of good treasures from the divine prison of heaven's law not long ago, Qiangang frowned. However, his speed of fusing with the energy seed was not slow at all. The black-robed old man snorted. Buddha of creation, you Buddhist cultivators have seen through life and death. Am I a coward? If I can't even compare to a Tao integration cultivator like the Yin-Yang God Lord, wouldn't it be extremely embarrassing? Chu Bingyan, follow me to fight that revived sovereign. Yes, master. There was no fear in Chu Bingyan's eyes. Instead, a strong desire to fight surged in them. The first elder of the punishment hall said in a deep voice, "The only thing we can do now is to fight the revived sovereign. What a pity! Our deaths are nothing to be regretted. The myriad of worlds can't escape this calamity." Sai, Luoyang was like a ferocious beast that had been forced into a desperate situation. His eyes were filled with despair. He secretly sent a message to Yi Ling with his primordial spirit. "First Elder, can we trust the Yin-Yang God Lord's words?" This person's words are less than 10% trustworthy. Why is that? Since the prison-suppressing codex has already merged with the heavenly Tao, how did the Yin-Yang God Lord know so much? He's just a Tao integration cultivator. Even if he's a sovereign, It's impossible for him to know such secrets. Then what's his intention? He kept the G people's second forefather and the others in his internal space. He hasn't released them until now. Obviously, he wants to suppress the second forefather and the other expert. This person is vicious and merciless. Next, he must be planning to use Jiang Taijie to suppress us one by one. A Tao integration cultivator wants to suppress 4 peerless sovereign gods? This person's appetite. Since that's the case, we can seize the opportunity to seize the origin sacred mirror. Il Woyang and Yi Ling conversed in secret while fusing the energy seeds. Everyone quickly fused with the energy seed condensed from the essence of the heavenly Tao order. They felt that the shackles of the prison-suppressing codex had been reduced by more than half. Although it was still not enough for them to unleash their peak strength, at least they were not as weak as before. The array formation inside the prison-suppressing codex was extremely vast. Su Fang's speed was extremely fast, reaching the speed of a peak Tao integration realm cultivator. It was almost as if he was teleporting. It was already 3 months later when the Grand Elder of the Punishment Hall and the others caught up with him. There was a huge light screen in front of them. It looked like the heavenly marks formed by the order of the heavens, which intertwined into a page, blocking their path. Su Fang sat cross-legged in the air below the light screen, his eyes fixed on the light screen. As the light in his eyes flickered, they were filled with the divine power to deduce the mysteries of the heavens, changing into one illusion after another. His hands continued to form hand seals, which were dazzling to the eyes. Streaks of heavenly Tao order power were shot into the light screen by him. After the light screen absorbed Su Fang's power, it did not move at all. Everyone was disappointed. If they could not even break a barrier, how could they enter the central space and fight Jiang Taijie to the death? Another month passed. Su Fang's eyes were bloodshot, and blood even seeped out of the corners of his eyes. Due to the long period of deduction, his providence had been severely depleted, and a faint gray aura lingered around his body. If the heavenly Tao order was compared to a book, the tadpole-like text on the screen was the general outline of the heavenly Tao order, and the prison-suppressing codex was the main content of the heavenly Tao order book. Although Su Fang had grasped the general outline, it was not an easy task to decipher the content of the book. After all, the prison-suppressing codex was a supreme divine artifact, and it surpassed Su Fang's realm by too much. QL 11-inch. This page-like barrier is far more difficult to crack than the shackles from before. Clearly, this barrier was originally inside the prison-suppressing codex, and the cage that shackled all the cultivators was formed by Jiang Taijie's control of the prison-suppressing codex. From this, it can be seen that Jiang Taijie has not completely controlled the prison-suppressing codex, nor has he completely fused with the heavenly supervisor token. Therefore, I still have a chance. Although Su Fang was exhausted, he was extremely excited by this discovery. At the same time, the process of cracking the barrier was also the process of comprehending the heavenly Tao order. As Su Fang continued to deduce and comprehend, his understanding and control of the heavenly Tao order became more and more powerful. Another 10 days passed. Su Fang suddenly revealed a look of joy and struck out a hand seal. With a whoosh, the barrier was flipped open like the pages of a book being flipped open. The power of the formation swept Su Fang and the others into a deeper space of the prison-suppressing codex. With such means, the Yinyang Divine Lord might be able to kill Jiang Taijie and win a chance of survival for us and the other worlds. The Great Elder of the Punishment Hall, the Buddha of Creation, and the others were all greatly invigorated. With Su Fang in the lead, the group continued to go deeper. Su Fang slowed down this time. As he flew, he shattered the insides of his physical body and turned it into a blood state, forming the heaven underworld samsara in his body. He wantonly devoured the blood crystals condensed from the blood chi of the hunchbacked experts of Sanskrit, as well as various pills and spiritual items. At the same time, He also activated the recovery ability of the dragon-subduing true body and the Black Lotus true body. This way, the recovery speed was truly astonishing. Everyone could clearly sense that Su Fang's aura was recovering at an unimaginable speed, shocking them once again. When Yi Ling and Yi Luoyang saw this scene, they temporarily dismissed some of their thoughts. Along the way, everyone saw the incomparably vast array formation space inside the prison-suppressing codex. In addition, they discovered sealed prisoners in some of the cages formed by the array formation. There were cultivators with evil auras all over their bodies, as well as big goblin and demon Dao experts. There were also some strange existences that had long disappeared from the universe. These prisoners shackled in the array formation were extremely powerful. Almost all of them were peerless experts at the level of Lord Gods. However, they had yet to discover any shackled venerable sovereigns. Some of the shackled experts were in a deep sleep. It was obvious that their divine apertures and yang spirits had been sealed by the prison-suppressing codex. Some had already died long ago and turned into corpses that had not yet decomposed. Some of them were still alive and they were still conscious. Through the array formation, those awake prisoners were constantly letting out waves of evil and ferocious roars. The roars impacted everyone's will and Dao hearts. The great elder of the punishment hall and other peerless lords were unaffected. However, those path integration experts and some Yuan Tiangong geniuses were all frightened out of their wit. Fortunately, those shackled experts could not break out of the cages. Moreover, they had been imprisoned here for a long time and their strength had been almost exhausted. They could not pose any threat to the group. My guess was right. If Jiang Taijie had integrated the prison-suppressing codex, he would definitely release these imprisoned experts. Wouldn't it be easy for him to kill us then? Fortunately, we killed his clone. Otherwise, his clone with the bloodline of the Luo clan would integrate the prison-suppressing codex sooner or later. Any random expert he released would be able to kill us easily. Su Fang rejoiced. At the same time, he was also very excited. Along the way, Su Fang kept breaking the light screens of the book pages along the way. He gradually understood that the prison-suppressing codex was actually a book. At this moment, they were passing through the array formation. In fact, they were passing through the pages of the book. Experts of different levels were imprisoned in each page of the book. The place where Jiang Taijie was must be in the pages that were specially used to shackle venerable sovereigns. As the pages of the book were broken, Su Fang became more adept at controlling the power of the heavenly Dao order. His understanding of it became more profound. Naturally, the speed at which he broke the barrier was also much faster. The consumption was also significantly lower. About 50 years later, Su Fang brought everyone to a vast formation space. As soon as they entered the space, they could sense that the shackles had clearly become over 10 times stronger. Everyone felt like a huge mountain was pressing down on them, making it difficult for them to even move. It did not affect Su Fang very much, but it was different for the others. If it were not for the fact that they had integrated the energy seeds of the power of the heavenly Dao order that Su Fang had given them, even the 4 overgods would find it difficult to walk. There were many objects condensed from the power of the heavenly Dao order in the space as well. They were like prisons that were completely sealed off. However, there were not many of them. There were only around a dozen prisons as far as the eye could see. These prisons were clearly much more powerful than the formations and cages they had seen before. The Grand Elder and the other Supreme Overgods believed that even if they were not shackled at all within the prison-suppressing codex and their strength was not suppressed, it would be impossible for them to move the prisons at all. The Grand Elder and the other Overgod powerhouses tried to sense it, but they could not sense any aura at all. Su Fang used his great perfection ability and combined it with the power of the heavenly Dao order. At the same time, he also used the life-shrinking technique to penetrate into the prisons. When his sensing power came into contact with the prisons, he immediately encountered strong resistance. Fortunately, the power of the heavenly Tao order and the life-shrinking technique worked together to sense the aura of destiny. Otherwise, he would not be able to sense anything at all. Although that was the case, Su Fang could only vaguely sense some faint aura. He could not clearly sense the situation inside. There was an extremely powerful aura inside the prison. Although it was sealed, it still made Su Fang tremble with fear. A venerable emperor powerhouse. There are actually supreme venerable emperors shackled in this prison. Su Fang was shocked and horrified. The prison suppressing codex was so terrifying that it could even suppress venerable emperors. Everyone be careful. This is the prison that seals venerable emperors. Jiang Taijie might be inside. Let's retreat first and recover to our peak condition. Then, we'll find Jiang Taijie and fight him to the death. Su Fang secretly transmitted his voice to the others with his Yuan spirit. Then, he quickly retreated to the light screen of the huge book page. Chapter 23:13. A bunch of ants. Since you're here, why don't you dare to come and see me? Jiang Taijie's voice came from the depths of the space. It was like a surging wave, causing the array space to shake violently. His voice contained the power of an evil essence spirit attack, shaking everyone's divine apertures and yang spirits. Poof, poof, poof. Several early-stage Dao integration cultivators and 3 Yuan Tiangong geniuses directly shattered their divine apertures and yang spirits under the impact of the voice. They died on the spot. Even the divine apertures of the over-gods were shaken. They all looked pained and fearful. Su Fang cultivated the night charm. Although his essence spirit was extremely powerful, facing such a terrifying impact, his divine aperture ocean also shook violently, and his essence spirit almost lost its consciousness. Thunder Buddha roar. The Buddha of creation suddenly let out a ferocious and sacred roar. Buddhist divine apertures had a strong restraining power against all evil forces. Jiang Taijie's voice immediately shattered layer by layer in this Buddhist voice, and finally disappeared. Everyone shook off the impact of Jiang Taijie's voice and felt as if they had walked on the edge of death. The power of such an essence spirit was really too powerful and too evil. The first elder of the punishment hall said in a low voice, "Although this person's essence spirit attack is powerful, it's not at the level of a supreme sovereign. Obviously, Jiang Taijie is shackled and can't use his full strength." The words of the first elder of the punishment hall shook everyone out of their fear and lifted their spirits. That's right. I'm indeed shackled, but it's still as easy as flipping my hand to kill a bunch of low-level existences like you. Kakik, as Jiang Taijie's voice sounded again, a deathly aura surged from the array space and quickly enveloped everyone, falling into a world of death. In the world of death, Jiang Taijie's phantoms walked out one after another with hideous smiles. They were like the god of death descending. Sizzle, a mid-stage Dao integration cultivator, was wrapped up by a Jiang Taijie phantom and drilled into his body. QL11. After a series of sizzling sounds, the blood chi of this Dao integration intermediate stage cultivator was instantly devoured, and he was reduced to a lifeless corpse. In less than 10 breaths, more than a dozen cultivators below Lord level released their heavenly Dao Dharma or their strongest defenses and divine weapons, but they couldn't stop the phantom at all. The phantom took over their bodies, let out a series of screams, and they were quickly devoured and died. The phantoms that devoured the cultivators quickly turned into Jiang Taijie's clones. Finally, they merged into one entity, Jiang Taijie. Although this clone was not as powerful as the clone powerhouse that Su Fang had previously killed, it was still at the level of an upper-rank lord. That's all. Kill him. The great elder of the punishment hall roared coldly. Together with the Buddha of Fortune, the black-robed old man, and Yi Ling, the 4 supreme masters, they unleashed their strongest attacks and swept towards Jiang Taijie's clone that had just been formed. Although they were suppressed, the strength of the 4 overgods was still shocking, especially the Buddha of Fortune's Buddhist divine abilities. The attacks he unleashed were extremely terrifying, enough to kill any powerhouse below the martial emperor realm. Boom. Taijie St. Everyone was surprised at how easy it was for him to do so. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Su Fang's divine aperture flashed with the mysterious Dao runes of the life-shrinking technique. He sensed Jiang Taijie's weak destiny aura on Luoyang. Luoyang, who seemed to be trembling, arrived behind the Taijie without leaving a trace. Su Fang's divine light changed drastically, and he shouted, "Watch out!" But it was too late. Luoyang swiftly stretched out his right hand, and it carried a dense aura of death and ruthlessness. It was like an extremely formidable divine artifact that instantly pierced through the Grand Elder's defense. He stabbed his right hand into the Taijie's back and crushed his heart. It turned out that Jiang Taijie was extremely cunning. He attracted everyone's attention with his phantoms, and the essence spirit hidden in the aura of death seized the opportunity to take over Luoyang's body. Then, he launched a surprise attack on the Taijie. The Taijie was in disbelief. Then, his vitality surged into Luoyang's body. He turned into a dry corpse in an instant, and even his yang spirit was devoured. After devouring the Taijie's body, Luoyang's aura increased exponentially. He rose from early-stage Dao integration to peak-stage Dao integration. Then, he surpassed peak-stage Dao integration and reached peak-stage Lord-stage Dao integration. He even surpassed peak-stage Lord-stage Dao integration and became a half-step sovereign venerable. Luoyang's divine body couldn't withstand such majestic power and kept cracking. However, the surrounding aura of death quickly surged over and mended his divine body. In the blink of an eye, Luoyang, who had been possessed, was extremely powerful. He was almost at the same level as the clone that had taken over Luo Xingtian. Luoyang's face twisted and changed into the appearance of a handsome young man. He licked his lips and said indifferently, "I've been shackled in the prison-suppressing codex for countless years. It's really boring. Then I'll play with you. I'll let you have a taste of being teased like rats before you die. You killed a peerless genius of my clan. I won't rest until you die." Ling gritted his teeth. Sharp and fierce arrow chi quickly condensed in his eyes. A fierce aura was brewing and was about to erupt. Jiang Taijie glanced at Ling with a disdainful look. He sneered disdainfully, "You keep saying that you want to take revenge. In fact, your heart is trembling with fear and your Dao heart is shaken. What do you have to fight me until I die? Let's attack together and kill him." Su Fang projected the divine power of the world of yin and yang. It quickly turned from illusory to real and turned into a universe. Then, he quickly formed a seal. In an instant, the terrifying scene of heaven and earth collapsing and the galaxy shattering appeared in the universe. The terrifying power of the Kai Tian seal fiercely pressed on Jiang Taijie's body. Boom! The body that Jiang Taijie had just taken over was shattered. However, in the next moment, another Jiang Taijie condensed from Su Fang's world. He looked at Su Fang with his evil eyes. "Interesting. However, it's only interesting. I am an immortal existence. How can you hurt me with your weak strength?" Afterwards, he sneered disdainfully, "If you were an overgod, you might pose some threat to me. Right now, the only thing that can threaten me is the sacred mirror of origin. It's a pity that with your strength, how can you use the sacred mirror of origin again?" As soon as he finished speaking, a deathly aura that was almost tangible like a demonic fiend erupted from Jiang Taijie's clone. Su Fang's world was immediately shattered. Jiang Taijie's clone was so powerful that Su Fang's strength could not withstand a single blow from him. Fear flashed in Ling's eyes. In the face of such a powerful existence, anyone would feel despair. He, a peerless master god, was no exception. "Immortal? I will exchange my life for your death." The Buddha of creation let out a loud and clear voice. "Lord Yin Yang, if you can leave the prison-suppressing codex alive and help me take care of Qiangang, I will be even more grateful if you can support the Buddhist sect when you become a supreme expert. The Buddha of creation let out a divine aura and swept Qiangang towards Su Fang while he pounced towards Jiang Taijie. Great compassion, sacrificial seal. As he ran, the Buddha of creation's hands formed a dazzling hand seal. Golden Buddhist light constantly surged out from his body, forming a world in an instant. In the empty world of golden light, Buddhist cultivators rapidly condensed. There were a total of 108 of them. They were all wearing golden kasayas and were shrouded in divine Buddhist light. The 108 golden Buddhas simultaneously let out solemn and majestic Buddhist chant. They formed rings of light and charged towards Jiang Taijie. Damn it, I hate Buddhist cultivators the most, especially Buddhist cultivators like you who are not afraid of death. Damn it, you will definitely die if you use the Great Compassion sacrificial seal. Jiang Taijie roared furiously. It is my honor to be able to release you from purgatory. The Buddha of creation's physical body rapidly withered, while the chants of the 108 golden Buddhas became even more powerful. Chi, chi, chi. Under the attack of the Buddhist chants, the deathly aura around Jiang Taijie's clone melted layer by layer. Finally, his body disintegrated under the Buddhist chant. His primordial spirit consciousness was also purified by the divine Buddhist chant. The Buddha of creation, on the other hand, had turned into a dried corpse. He sat there cross-legged with his eyes closed. There was a kind and compassionate look on his face. Qiangang put his palms together and kowtowed to the Buddha of creation. Su Fang also felt a wave of grief in his heart. He was shocked and touched by the Buddha of creation's actions. Su Fang said in a deep voice, "Qiangang, enter the space within my body. I will avenge the Buddha of creation for you." Qiangang gave up resisting and allowed Su Fang to take him into his inner world. At the same time, he also put away the Buddha of creation's corpse. We've finally killed Jiang Taijie. Now all we need to do is kill his sealed body, and we'll be able to escape. Yi Ling wiped the sweat off his forehead as he spoke with lingering fear. Jiang Taijie's voice rolled out from the depths of the formation space. You want to kill me? What a joke. Let's go and meet the original body of this revived venerable sovereign. The black-robed old man also put Chu Bingyan into his inner world. Such a level of confrontation was not something Chu Bingyan could participate in. Instead, it would drag him down. Yi Luoyang's mistake was a good example. After this fierce battle, the great elder of the punishment palace and the Buddha of creation had fallen. Other than Chu Bingyan and Qiangang, all the other Yuan Tiangong geniuses and cultivators had also lost their lives. It could be seen how tragic this battle was. Su Fang, the black-robed old man, and Yi Ling flew towards the depths of the prison-suppressing codex. They came to a place far away from a prison. They fixed their eyes on it. They saw that the prison was already broken. Only the bottom half was left, and it had already become a formation of nothingness. Inside the broken prison, a young man was sitting cross-legged. It was Jiang Taijie's original body. Although the original body's appearance was exactly the same as his clone, the aura was completely different. The original body was divided into two parts from the glabella down. One side was surging with a vast and boundless aura of death, as if it was a universe full of evil aura. The other half was a normal human without any aura. If one looked carefully, one could faintly see that this half of the divine body was sealed with layers of restrictions. These restrictions were extremely shocking, far surpassing that of the venerable sovereign. Even the supreme existence of the imperial people would not be able to cast such a shocking seal. Although Jiang Taijie looked like a half-dead monster, he gave Su Fang a feeling of insignificance like an ant facing a divine dragon. Chapter 23:14. The three of them noticed that Jiang Taijie was holding a dark gold token in his left hand. This token didn't look special at all. There were a few simple heavenly marks engraved on the token, but it gave people a feeling of endless profoundness. It emitted a sense of mystery and supreme majesty that couldn't be seen through. The three of them merely glanced at it and felt that their principal spirits were shackled by the token. They couldn't even think properly. "Don't look. That's the Heaven Supervisor token." Su Fang let out a thunderous shout. The voice of his principal spirit exploded in the black-robed elders and Yi Ling's minds. Only then did the two of them break free from the token's principal spirit shackles. Their bodies shook, and they spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Jiang Taiji's eyes that emitted a deathly aura flashed with astonishment. "You little ant, you're really not simple. You're actually not affected by the Heaven Supervisor token. You should have comprehended the Heaven's Law preface. To think that a mere Tao integration realm cultivator would be able to comprehend the Heaven's Law preface to such a high level. No wonder you're able to repeatedly ruin my plans. An ant like you is rare even in my era of powerhouses." Jiang Taijie carefully sized up Su Fang and praised from the bottom of his heart. Heaven's Law preface? Su Fang was startled. Then, he understood. The so-called Heaven's Law preface should be the tadpole characters on the screen. Jiang Taijie's eyes that were filled with deathly stillness swept across the three of them. Then, he smiled sinisterly. "Ants, didn't you want to kill me? Why aren't you attacking? You're just a sealed and revived sovereign. How can you be so arrogant?" Yi Ling suddenly suffered a loss. In addition, Yi Luoyang was killed. His heart was filled with resentment. With a domineering shout, his glabella suddenly split open. A golden Xian Guang shot out from his glabella and rapidly condensed into a golden arrow. At that moment, a scene of the divine sun falling and all living things being destroyed flashed and changed continuously. Swoosh! The arrow carried a sharp aura that could exterminate the vitality of the world. It tore through the shackles of the prison suppression codex and shot towards Jiang Taijie. The black-robed elder also attacked at the same time. He opened his mouth and spat out a black flame. However, it carried a divine might that could freeze the world as it swept towards Jiang Taijie. Ka. The space was instantly frozen and then burned and twisted in the cold flames. Who knew? Puff puff. The attacks of the two supreme sovereigns immediately turned into nothingness when they were within 100 kilometers of Jiang Taijie. It was as if there was an invisible black hole around Jiang Taijie that easily devoured their attack. What's going on? Yi Ling and the black-robed elder were both shocked and stupefied. Looking at Yi Ling, Jiang Taijie sneered and said, "If your Yi clan's ancestor god De Yi were to descend, this emperor would have to be somewhat fearful. But you are merely at the level of a mere overgod. You are far inferior to your Yi clan's ancestor god De Yi. Yet, you wish to harm this emperor?" Yi Ling said proudly, "How can my clan's ancestor gods be compared to a revived venerable sovereign like you? If the Lord Ancestor God were here, he would only need a glance to kill you." Jiang Taijie snorted disdainfully and said, "Humph, De Yi is merely a despicable person who colluded with the devil race. What's there for you to show off?" Su Fang's heart trembled. Legend had it that in the great war between humans and demons that surpassed the ancient times, the Solar God clan controlled 10 suns and almost destroyed the devil race. Because they went against the heavens, the Solar God clan was punished by the heavens and stripped of their right to control the divine suns. The entire clan was annihilated by the heavens and 9 of the 10 divine suns were shot down. Only then did the devil race escape and retreat to the dark world. Legend had it that it was De Yi who shot down the 9 divine suns. Some said that De Yi was ordered by the heavenly law to carry out the heavenly punishment. There were also rumors that De Yi was bribed by the devil race to help the devil race resolve the crisis of extinction. Now, hearing Jiang Taijie's words, those rumors were not groundless. Jiang Taijie rebuked angrily, "My clan's ancestor god is the great hero who saved the human race. How can he be slandered by an evil person like you?" "Slander?" Jiang Taijie scoffed. Then, He looked at Su Fang. The primordial chaos sacred mirror in this person's hand was refined by the supreme heavenly venerate using the 9 divine suns that De shot down and the essence of the 9 nether. How can I slander De? Su Fang's heart was in turmoil. He didn't expect the primordial chaos sacred mirror to be refined from the 9 divine suns and the 9 nether. Although Su Fang didn't know what the essence of the 9 nether was, Su Fang still understood that the primordial chaos sacred mirror's extreme yang side was refined from the 9 divine suns, while the extreme yin side was refined from the so-called essence of the 9 nether. Jiang Taijie continued, low-level existences, can't you see that I've already used the heavenly supervisor token to fuse everything around me with the heavenly Tao River? Unless you have the strength to shake the Tao River, how can you hurt me at all? Su Fang's heart sank, and he hurriedly used his heaven-seeing eye to spy on Jiang Taijie's surroundings. Under the supreme power of the heavenly divination mystic solution, the space around Jiang Taijie was completely different from what he could see with the naked eye. He saw an ethereal natural power of heaven and earth flowing endlessly around Jiang Taijie like a river. That was not the ordinary power of nature, but the heavenly Tao that existed in the world. It operated and flowed in the unseen world with supreme rules, turning into rivers of Tao that cycled endlessly. All things and all things in the universe were moving along with the rivers of Tao. Normally, unless it was a supreme heavenly venerate, ordinary gods would find it difficult to see or touch the Tao rivers. At this moment, the heavenly supervisor token in Jiang Taijie's hand had fused him and the prison suppression codex into the Tao River. Furthermore, the heavenly supervisor token was releasing a supreme evil power that seeped into the Tao River. It felt like a drop of ink in clear water, polluting the entire Tao River. Looking deeper into it, the Tao River was surging toward a vast ocean of nothingness, which was the origin source sea of the entire heavenly Tao. The Tao River polluted by the evil power flowed into the origin source sea, causing the entire heavenly Tao to be polluted. The space of the prison suppression codex was also constantly being polluted, melting in the Tao River, becoming a part of the Tao River, sinking and rolling. Yi Ling and the black-robed elder also used their eye divine powers and saw this scene. Their divine light changed instantly, and despair surged from their deep eyes. 3 insignificant ants, do you understand now that not only you, but even the heavenly Tao will be invaded by the supreme evil God's power? Heaven and earth and the universe will become the supreme evil God's world, and all living creatures will perish. No one can stop me, unless the heavenly venerate of creation descends personally. However, the heavenly venerate of creation is now. Kakik. Jiang Taijie laughed sinisterly and was very pleased with himself. Su Fang, the black-robed elder, and Yi Ling all fell into the abyss of despair. It was the end of the world, and all their hopes were dashed. If it weren't for you, Aunt, I could use the bloodline of the Luo clan to control the prison suppression codex calmly, fuse with the Heaven Supervisor token, and then successfully complete the supreme evil God's plan. I could also safely escape from the prison suppression codex and become an eternal existence. Jiang Taijie's sharp gaze swept across Su Fang as he said murderously, "It's precisely because of you, Aunt, that I had to sacrifice myself and fuse with the Heaven Supervisor token into the heavenly Tao. Aunt, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death, neither alive nor dead." As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding Tao River in the void suddenly surged with monstrous waves, and it swept towards Su Fang and the others. The Tao River around him had already been polluted by him, so he could control a portion of its power. The supreme power of the heavenly Tao converged into a torrent, and any divine ability would be unable to withstand a single blow from this torrent. Not to mention overgods, even supreme sovereigns would find it difficult to contend against such a grand power of the heavenly Tao. The torrent came overwhelming, forming a vast and boundless shackle, making it difficult for the 3 of them to move. In the next moment they would be swallowed up by the Tao River. Suddenly, a black flame ignited from the black-robed elder's divine body, rapidly propping up a space of 10,000 feet, forming a protective divine aura that enveloped the three of them. The black-robed elder transmitted his essence spirit to Su Fang. Lord Yin Yang, I'll use my cultivation to buy you a chance to escape. Take Chu Bingyan and escape from the prison suppression codex. Su Fang replied with a bitter smile, Senior, you think too highly of me. Under such circumstances, how can I escape? I'm going to die anyway. Can't you let me die with hope? The black-robed elder glared at Su Fang, then swept Chu Bingyan out of his body. Then, his divine body suddenly spewed out shocking black flames, releasing a cold divine aura. At this moment, the black-robed elder burned everything he had, and his cultivation instantly surpassed the over-god realm. He temporarily possessed the strength of a sovereign expert, freezing the Tao River that swept over for an instant. A look of determination flashed in Su Fang's eyes, but he did not escape. Instead, he used the life-shrinking technique to capture the divine aura of fate, instantly passing through the obstruction of the Tao River and firmly locking onto Jiang Taijie's true body. Then, Su Fang suddenly formed a seal. This Dharma seal encompassed everything between heaven and earth, all living things and all kinds of Dharma powers. Yin-Yang transformation, a power that could evolve all things in the world, all laws, and at the same time, contained supreme divine aura of destruction, causing all things in the world, all laws, and all laws to revert to their origin, enveloped Jiang Taijie's body. The seal of a supreme heavenly venerate. This person has the chaos origin holy mirror and has mastered a heavenly venerate's supreme divine ability. Could he be a heavenly venerate's successor? He's merely at the path integration realm. No matter how powerful the seal is, what can he do to me? Oh no. Jiang Taijie scoffed at first, but then he was horrified. QL11 with Su Fang's current strength, he was definitely considered a powerful expert in the universe. Using the yin-yang transformation was enough to kill an ordinary upper-rank lord. However, how powerful was Jiang Taijie? Moreover, he was currently merged with the Tao River. Before the Tao River completely devoured him, he could be said to be an immortal existence. Even if the imperial people's supreme powerhouses personally attacked, they would find it difficult to kill him. However, Su Fang's purpose of using the yin-yang transformation at all costs was not to kill Jiang Taijie, but to activate the seal on the other half of his divine body. Even if the seal was not personally cast by a heavenly venerate, it was cast by a supreme powerhouse who had transcended heaven and earth. Su Fang was also taking a risk and taking a big gamble. Chapter 23:15. The reason why Su Fang dared to gamble with his life was because he had used the yin-yang transformation in Sin Garden, causing the power of the heavenly Tao to resonate with it. Jiang Taijie's body was also sealed by the heavenly Tao. Even if the yin-yang transformation's divine might couldn't trigger the seal's power, it could still cause the seal to undergo some unexpected changes. Besides, at this moment, he was already in a desperate situation. What else could Su Fang do other than risk his life? The outcome did not disappoint Su Fang. The supreme divine might of the yin-yang transformation erupted from Jiang Taijie's body, forming a miraculous resonance with the layers of restrictions in his body. That terrifying restriction erupted with a power that seemed to be able to suppress the heavens and the earth. Black Xian Guang that exuded a cold and imposing divine might bloomed from the sealed half of Jiang Taijie's divine body. Swish, swish, swish. The black Xian Guang rapidly transformed into chains. Not only did they firmly bind half of his divine body, but they also rapidly extended to the other half of his body that was formed by the aura of death, as if they were alive. Chi, chi, chi. The astonishing aura of death clashed with the black chains. Although the chains shattered layer by layer, they extended to the other half of Jiang Taijie's body, sealing at least 2/3 of his divine body. The roaring Tao River also instantly shrank back, and the fatal crisis was resolved. "Ant, I'll kill you!" Jiang Taijie erupted with a towering rage. A figure suddenly shot out from his eyes that were filled with the aura of death. The evil divine might instantly condensed into a palm that was like the hand of death. It ignored the restraints of space and time and instantly arrived in front of Su Fang. "Yinyang Godlord, I'll leave Chu Bingyan to you." The black-robed elder flashed in front of Su Fang. His body exploded, transforming into a black icy flame that blocked the hand of death. Boom! Jiang Taijie's hand of death was blocked by the black icy flame, causing a huge explosion. The reverberating divine might swept Su Fang and Chu Bingyan away. "Master!" Chu Bingyan roared angrily. Ignoring his injuries, he charged back like a mad beast. "Chu Bingyan, let's go!" Without the slightest hesitation, Su Fang unleashed the full power of the yin-yang world, sweeping out Chu Bingyan. Then, using the power of the heavenly Tao order to merge with the power of the suppressing Hell Codex, he instantly teleported deeper into the suppressing Hell Codex. Jiang Taijie's hand of death had shattered the ice flame formed by the black-robed elders, burning everything. Su Fang was nowhere to be seen. Yi Ling was shackled by the prison-suppressing codex. Although he had fused with the energy seed condensed by Su Fang with the power of the heavenly Tao order, his speed was not comparable to Su Fang's. The hand of death grabbed at the air, and Yi Ling, who was frantically running for his life, was forcibly pulled back to Jiang Taijie's side. About 3 days, Su Fang appeared in the depths of the suppressing prison codex array space. He staggered and almost fell down. Chu Bingyan opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura instantly became dispirited. Just now, Chu Bingyan had been affected by the aftershocks of the clash between the black-robed elder and Jiang Taijie's divine abilities. Being teleported by Su Fang within the prison's suppressing Hell Codex array space made his divine body even worse. The black-robed elder's death made him feel even more heartbroken. Su Fang let out a thunderous roar. "Chu Bingyan, quickly enter my internal space to recover. Otherwise, your master would have died in vain." Then, he released a Xianguang. Chu Bingyan no longer had the power to resist. He allowed Su Fang to take him into his internal world and teleport him into the Golden Rainbow King's world with Qiangang. Golden Rainbow King, help Chu Bingyan and Qiangang recover. There are also more than 2,000 experts. I'll leave them all to you. It's best if they submit to me. If they don't, I can only be ruthless this time. The Golden Rainbow King's excited voice rang out. Torturing people? Hee, I like it the most. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Su Fang used the divine power of the heavenly Tao order to erase the shackles of more than 2,000 experts. Then, they were all moved into the Golden Rainbow King's world. As for the Ji people's second patriarch, Su Fang had no intention of letting him go. He also had no intention of subduing the Ji people's patriarch as his subordinate. After dealing with all of this, Su Fang used the power of the heavenly Tao order to create a simple array formation around him. Then, he sat down in the array formation space, as if he had been drained of all his strength. This time, his injuries were not serious. Although the consumption was huge, it was not to the extent that he could not bear it. However, his eyes flashed with incomparable madness. Underneath this madness, there was also a deep sense of despair. The first elder of the punishment hall, the Buddha of creation, the black-robed elder, and other cultivators died one after another, but they were unable to stop Jiang Taijie. In particular, the Buddha of creation and the black-robed elder had placed all their hopes on him. However, he was not a celestial venerable. How could he reverse all of this? Although he used the yin-yang transformation and activated the seal on Jiang Taijie's body, it only delayed it for a while. It could not fundamentally change anything. How could he not feel despair? After settling down for a long time, Huff Su Fang let out a long breath of turbid air, as if he wanted to spit out all the fear and despair in his heart. My Tao heart is controlled by fear and despair. I have to calm down. Su Fang forcibly controlled his heart and forced himself to calm down. Then, he sat down cross-legged. A large number of true words appeared in his mind. It was the supreme scripture that Xu Wanjin had passed on to him, the battle of the great Tao. At this moment, Su Fang seemed to have returned to the time when he was in the small world. Xu Wanjin's voice sounded in his mind. No one can predict the future. Only the present is left. Life is bitter and short. 10 years is a long time. Seize every minute. The present is everything. Don't ask for the future. Just grasp the present and live every day well. With a courageous heart, cross all difficulties and obstacles. Even if the road ahead is full of twists and turns and thorns, you have to move forward bravely. You have to advance fiercely. You have to kill gods and demons. The world is about to be destroyed. At least I am still alive now. As long as I am alive, I have to grasp the present and not fear the future that has yet to happen. Each sentence contained the essence of the profound Tao scripture. It made Su Fang's heart gradually calm down. The madness and despair in his eyes disappeared. They were like an ancient well that was still. Then, Su Fang formed a seal and used the heaven underworld. He crazily devoured pills, spiritual items, and blood crystals to recover his energy. He condensed a physical body in the blood. Then, he separated a yang spirit and entered his inner world. The Ji people's second patriarch. It turned out that he was preparing to deal with the Ji people's second patriarch. The shackles on the Ji people's second patriarch had not been removed. He was thrown into Su Fang's inner world. During this period of time, he was in a constant state of anxiety. He knew that the Yin-Yang God Lord would come to deal with him sooner or later. However, he did not understand why the Ji people and the diabolism experts wanted to kill Su Fang in Sin Botany Garden. Hearing the familiar voice of Su Fang's primordial spirit, the Ji people's second patriarch felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body trembled involuntarily. You are Su Fang? How can you be Su Fang? Seeing Su Fang's lifelike yang spirit, the Ji people's second patriarch was dumbfounded. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Su Fang was able to defeat the Ji people and cause great damage to the Ji people's vitality. That was because he was favored by Emperor Sangqiu. None of the experts below the domain lord level could attack him. What was Su Fang's level at that time? What was his strength now? Su Fang had easily defeated an upper-level chief god in the Heavenly Law Divine Palace and the prison-suppressing Codex space. Although Su Fang had the advantage of controlling the Heavenly Tao Order, he was still a Tao Integration Realm cultivator. How incredible was it to be able to crush an upper-level chief god? Unbelievable! The Ji people's second patriarch could not believe that the powerful Yin-Yang God Lord was actually Su Fang in disguise. However, the truth was right in front of him. The Ji people's second patriarch had no choice but to believe it. After a moment of intense shock, the Ji people's second patriarch's eyes spat fire. He gritted his teeth and said, "If I had known that you would grow to this extent, I would have killed you in the Star Billow Divine Realm. Even if Emperor Sangqiu killed me, I would have killed you." Su Fang said coldly and embarrassedly, "It's too late to regret now." The Ji people's second patriarch snorted and said, "Humph, I know that I'll die if I fall into your hands. However, don't be too smug. You've offended the Sanskrit, the Yi clan, the Luo clan, and the powerful Demon clan. Even if you have the identity of the Yuan Tiangong's saint, you won't be able to escape death sooner or later." He was in Su Fang's inner world and did not know what was happening outside. If he knew that not only Su Fang, but the entire myriad heavens and realms were facing a calamity of destruction, he would probably laugh maniacally. Su Fang said indifferently, "Of course you'll die. However, before you die, I'll let you display your worth." The G people's second patriarch scoffed. Although I'm shackled, I'm still a peerless chief god. You can kill me, but don't think that I'll do anything for you. That's not up to you. Su Fang's yang spirit directly entered the G people's second patriarch's divine aperture. The G people's second patriarch's divine aperture and primordial spirit were all shackled. He could not resist at all, and could only be manipulated by Su Fang. As soon as he entered the divine aperture, Su Fang immediately used the charming god soul sucking seal to possess the G people's second patriarch. Although he could not see a glimmer of hope, Su Fang wanted to use all the power he could to fight for a glimmer of hope for himself. The G people's second patriarch's strength was extraordinary. He was an upper-level chief god. After possessing him, he would become a powerful puppet. QL11 Su Fang had already made up his mind. If he could not find any hope, he would lead everyone to attack Jiang Taijie again. Even if he could not kill him, he would sacrifice everything to give him a final blow. Just as Su Fang was making his final plans, he did not expect Jiang Taijie to also counterattack crazily. Junior of the E-clan, before you die, I'll give you a chance to possess the strength of a supreme venerable. Are you willing? Jiang Taijie looked down at Yiling, who was trembling in front of him, and said sinisterly. Yiling snorted and said, I'm going to die anyway. Why should I listen to you? Since ancient times, who hasn't died? Even supreme venerables, supreme existences that have transcended the heavens and earth, and even heavenly venerables of creation, which one of them can live forever. Chapter 23:16. Jiang Taijie continued to bewitch Yiling. Isn't becoming a peerless supreme sovereign something every cultivator yearns for? Since you can't escape death, why don't you enjoy the feeling of becoming a peerless supreme sovereign before you die? Yiling said, You want me to hunt down the Yin-Yang God Lord? Jiang Taijie said bluntly, That's right. I've already merged with the heavenly Tao and am unable to break free from my shackles. I'm also unable to use the power of the prison suppressing codex to kill the Yin-Yang God Lord. Yiling snorted, Since you're going to corrupt the heavenly Tao with your own body and will soon be completely obliterated from this world, then the Yin-Yang God Lord will definitely die. Why do you still want to hunt him down? I want him to wail in pain in front of me before I die. I want him to die in endless pain and despair. Jiang Taijie's voice was filled with endless evil and cruelty. He then looked at Yiling and said, I've long seen that you and the Yin-Yang God Lord are connected by fate. He has the origin sacred mirror, which means he inherited the Solar God clan's legacy. Since you're going to die anyway, isn't it killing two birds with one stone to have the strength of a supreme sovereign before you die and also understand your fate? Jiang Taijie's words caused Yiling's eyes to flicker. He was unknowingly bewitched. Yiling asked, I'm only a master god. How can you give me the strength of a supreme sovereign? Jiang Taijie smiled darkly. He swept out a corrupted Tao river and enveloped a prison in the distance. Chi. The prison quickly collapsed in the Tao river. In the end, there was nothing left, revealing the corpse of an old man. This old man had been dead for an unknown number of years. The shackles on his body had already disappeared. There was still an incomparably boundless life force and supreme aura from the corpse. It was the corpse of a supreme sovereign. The corpse of a supreme sovereign. Jiang Taijie's eyes suddenly became hale and hearty. He then asked in confusion, Why didn't you take over the body of this supreme sovereign? Wouldn't you be able to easily kill everyone then? This person was one of the 7 great bandits in the past. His strength was slightly inferior to mine, but he was still one of the few powerhouses in the myriad world. My goal is to taint the heavenly Tao. If I were to possess him, I would have to expend too much energy. As for the rest of you, you're just a bunch of ants. You'll all die sooner or later. Why would I waste my energy on you? This emperor has the ability to let you possess this sovereign's corpse and give you the strength of a sovereign for 3 months. But after this, you will definitely die. Ancestor. Even if I have to be a venerable sovereign for a day, I will die without regrets. Yi Ling's eyes flashed with a scorching light, surging with incomparable madness. About 300 years. Su Fang recovered to his peak state, and the Ji people's second patriarch was also successfully possessed by him. As for the 2,000-plus experts, many of them refused to submit at first, and the Golden Rainbow King was at his wits' end. After that, Su Fang used the Azure Blood Dome to devour over 100 cultivators. The remaining cultivators all obediently submitted and accepted Su Fang's shackles. Su Fang used the Heaven's Divination Eyes to sense the inner space of the prison-suppressing codex. He found that the space of the prison-suppressing codex was merging with the river of heavenly Tao at a very slow speed, and the array was also gradually shattering. Just as Goddess Luo's adoptive father predicted, the prison-suppressing codex would completely disappear in the river of heavenly Tao in another 10,000 years. Goddess's adoptive father is at least a supreme expert comparable to the imperial people. Even he can't resolve the impending catastrophe. It seems like we've really fallen into a desperate situation. There's still at least 10,000 years. We might be able to find a glimmer of hope. Su Fang wasn't willing to give up. After a moment of silence, he used the Mediating Destiny technique. Mediating Destiny technique. QL11. It was a supreme technique created by Su Fang by combining the life-shortening technique, the Heaven's Divination technique, and the great Tao of time with his own heavenly Tao. With Su Fang's current realm, the Mediating Destiny technique's power was second only to the yin-yang transformation. However, the Mediating Destiny technique's flaw was obvious. It consumed an astonishing amount of life force and fate. The more powerful the enemy, the more it consumed. Every time he made a decision in his mind, he would use the Mediating Destiny technique to deduce what would happen in the future. In the prison-suppressing codex, he could only deduce the future, but he couldn't change anything. He couldn't go back to the past and change what had happened in the past. The matters in the prison-suppressing codex involved the supreme heavenly Tao. If he tried to change anything, he would instantly die from the backlash. Again and again. The result was as expected. Although he couldn't see the final result of each deduction, he could see an ominous glint, indicating that there would be a fatal danger waiting for him. However, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything. In the yin-yang vortex that Su Fang had deduced, he saw Yi Ling charging towards him. Moreover, Yi Ling gave him the feeling that he was facing a supreme sovereign. Su Fang had no choice but to stop the deduction because it consumed too much energy. However, the result was predictable. I didn't expect the supreme sovereign of the Yi clan to still be alive. In the prison-suppressing codex, apart from the Ji people's second ancestor, there's only Yi Ling, the supreme sovereign. How could he have the strength of a supreme sovereign in such a short period of time? And why would he want to kill me? Su Fang was shocked and could not figure it out. I didn't expect another big trouble to come. The experts of the Yi clan will only come after 100 years. Let's ignore him for now and find a way out first. Su Fang continued to use the Mediating Destiny technique, trying to find a chance of survival in this hopeless situation. Puff! The light in the yin-yang vortex suddenly shattered before it could condense. Su Fang tried 3 times in a row, but the result was still the same. What's in the deepest part of the prison-suppressing codex? Why can't the Mediating Destiny technique deduce anything? Su Fang was shocked and stunned. The formation space that suppressed a supreme sovereign like Jiang Taijie was the last page of the prison-suppressing codex. However, it wasn't the deepest part of the prison-suppressing codex. The deepest part wasn't the last page of the prison-suppressing codex, but the back cover. There must be a powerful existence that surpasses the supreme sovereign sealed in the back cover. It's just that I don't understand why the mediating destiny technique can't deduce anything. No matter what's sealed, I'll go in and take a look. Maybe the last hope is in the sealed space. Even if I don't get anything, I won't lose anything. What's worse than death? Su Fong immediately stopped his deduction and quickly flew toward the barrier that isolated the formation space. The barrier here was like a real page of a book. On it were mysterious tadpole characters formed by the condensation of heaven's marks. Although there were only a few words and it seemed simple, it was actually more profound and powerful than any barrier that Su Fong had deciphered before. The experts of the E-Clan are about to come. They might not be able to break this barrier and enter the sealed space of the prison-suppressing codex in 100 years. What should I do? Before, Su Fong couldn't see any hope, so he didn't care much about Yi Ling who was about to arrive. Now, Su Fong was a little nervous because he had a glimmer of hope. After pondering for a long time, Su Fong couldn't think of any good ideas. He could only use the power of the Heavenly Way order to create layers of barriers around him. For the last barrier, Su Fong used the God-slaying saber as the eye of the formation to create the strongest barrier. Then, he used the life-shrinking technique to set it up in the formation and let the G People's second Grandmaster hide in it. Then, Su Fong started to focus all his energy to comprehend the power of the Heavenly Way order in the light screen of the book. The consumption was extremely shocking. Su Fong's recovery ability couldn't keep up with the consumption. The main reason was that the barrier was too powerful and vast. Even with Su Fong's previous understanding of the Heavenly Way order, he couldn't decipher it in a short time. Time passed day by day. Unknowingly, about 70 to 80 years had passed. Su Fong couldn't even comprehend a single clue. He had to stop his comprehension and prepare for the battle with Yi Ling who was about to arrive. Outside the Advent God Palace, Goddess Luo was still in the void, watching the chaotic region anxiously. The elder sat cross-legged at the side with his eyes closed. He looked like he was in a trance. Suddenly determination flashed across Goddess Luo's eyes. Even if I die, I want to die with him. She flipped her right hand and the sun-penetrating golden rainbow appeared in her palm. Then, Goddess Luo activated the sun-penetrating golden rainbow. The golden rainbow flashed and extended towards the chaotic region. Sun-penetrating golden rainbow. It was a divine weapon of creation that could pierce through any shackles and restrictions. Back then, the Golden Rainbow King wasn't even an area lord. He could use the sun-penetrating golden rainbow to barge into the celestial worthy mountain. It could be seen how powerful the sun-penetrating golden rainbow was. The golden rainbow tore a hole in the terrifying chaotic region. Not only that, one end of the golden rainbow pierced through the void and extended into the Heavenly Way River. The other end of the golden rainbow shrouded Goddess Luo. It transformed into a strange light state and flew towards the Heavenly Way River. The elder slowly opened his eyes and sighed silently. A human figure flashed out from his eyes. It chased after the golden rainbow and entered Goddess Luo's body silently. Boom, boom, boom. The layers of barriers that Su Fong had set up didn't stop Yi Ling for long. They were all destroyed by him domineeringly. He killed his way to the last barrier. An emperor. With Jiang Taiji's help, Yi Ling merged with the corpse of an emperor. Although his appearance didn't change, he displayed the terrifying strength of an unparalleled emperor. Yin Yang Godlord, you're going to die anyway. Why don't you have a good fight with this emperor? Yi Ling laughed domineeringly like a mad beast. When people fell into a desperate situation, some would try their best to find a way out. Some would fall into despair and go crazy from despair. They would do crazy things that ordinary people couldn't imagine. Su Fong was the former. Yi Ling from the E-Clan was the latter. Boom, boom, boom. The last layer of enchantment merely lasted for 3 days before it was forcefully breached by Yi Ling. Boom. Chapter 23:17. Yi Ling waved his sleeve and shot out a sharp arrow chi, pushing the G People's second forefather back. Second forefather, have you joined the Yin-Yang God Lord? How dare you stop me from killing him? Yi Ling, why did you join Jiang Taijie, the revived venerable sovereign? The Ji people's second forefather said coldly. It wasn't his original voice, but the voice of Su Fang's true body. So you've been possessed. Yi Ling's gaze was like an arrow, as if he could see through the body of the Ji people's second forefather and everything in his divine aperture. Yi Ling shouted coldly, "You're just an upper-level sovereign. You haven't even reached the peak. How can you fight against me? I'm now a peerless, venerable sovereign." Then, his eyes flashed, and the shadow of an arrow appeared in front of the Ji people's second forefather in an instant. Venerable sovereigns were as powerful as the heavenly Tao. Their thoughts were supreme. The Ji people's second forefather didn't even have time to defend himself before the arrow pierced through his chest. His life force was instantly destroyed by the destructive energy that seeped into his flesh and blood. His body quickly withered, and in the end it was forcefully shattered by the sharp arrow qi, scattering into the air. Su Fang's yang spirit, which was residing in the divine aperture of the Ji people's second forefather, couldn't escape in time and was swallowed by the terrifying arrow qi. An upper-level sovereign couldn't even withstand a single blow from Yi Ling. Venerable sovereigns are so powerful. Su Fang was shocked. He didn't expect that the Ji people's second forefather, who he spent so much effort to possess, would be so easily killed by Yi Ling. He didn't even have time to burn his cultivation. He still underestimated the strength of venerable sovereigns. The difference between them and sovereigns was like the difference between heaven and earth. Since I can't escape death, I might as well make a final gamble. Su Fang threw caution to the wind. While the Ji people's second forefather was blocking Yi Ling, Su Fang used the yin-yang transformation seal to activate the origin sacred mirror. At this moment, the prison's suppressing codex was submerged in the river of heavenly Tao. It was even more difficult to communicate with Shu Wanjun through the origin sacred mirror. Working with her to activate the origin sacred mirror wasn't as powerful as Su Fang using it alone. Boom! The terrifying power of the origin sacred mirror, which could change the yin and yang of heaven and earth and cause all things to return to the primordial chaos, enveloped Yi Ling. Yi Ling's figure flashed. QL11 in the next moment, a shocking presence of the way of the heavens erupted, shattering the divine might of the sacred mirror of origin. Moreover, it formed a shocking backlash that slammed into the mirror. Buzz! The crimson surface of the origin sacred mirror trembled and buzzed. Then, it was shaken out of Su Fang's control and flew backward. Primeval chaos sacred mirror. Yi Ling's eyes flashed with a bright light. He stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. The origin sacred mirror suddenly appeared in his hand. My mirror! Su Fang's heart was filled with despair. Ever since he had obtained the origin sacred mirror, this supreme magic treasure had never left his hands. He did not expect it to fall into Yi Ling's hands. What a treasure! What a treasure! Yi Ling was so excited that his entire body trembled. His eyes were incomparably hale and hearty, revealing greed that came from the bottom of his heart. Then, as if he had gone mad, he let out an unwilling roar. I have obtained such a heavenly venerate treasure, but I can only use it for a short period of 3 months. Even with my strength, I can only use it for such a short period of time. I cannot accept this. At this moment, he actually wanted to forever possess supreme strength and a supreme magic treasure like the origin sacred mirror. Yi Ling's heart was filled with resentment as he vented it on Su Fang. His eyes were filled with cruelty as he said, Yin-Yang God Lord, run for your life. This seat still has 3 months to live. Before I die, this seat will slowly play you to death like a cat playing with a mouse. Su Fang knew that he was going to die, but there was no fear in his heart. He mocked and ridiculed Yi Ling. A person like you does not deserve to be called a cultivator, much less possess the origin sacred mirror. Yi Ling said in surprise, You are not afraid of death? Su Fang shouted domineeringly. Of course I am afraid of death. I am extremely afraid. However, no matter how afraid I am of death, I will not be like you, being ordered around like a dog by a revived expert. It is no wonder. Who asked you to be born in the E-clan? You are at death's door, yet you still dare to humiliate my E-clan. You are courting death. Yi Ling was completely enraged. A murderous desire enveloped Su Fang in an instant. Venerable emperors were so powerful. Their desires could turn into reality in an instant, and they were about to kill Su Fang. Suddenly Yi Ling's expression changed slightly. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief. A golden rainbow broke through the sky, and the figure of a black-clothed woman appeared. Boom! As soon as the figure appeared, she immediately activated a divine might that descended with a loud bang. This divine might contained a power that transcended the heavens and earth. It was similar to the yin-yang transformation. It contained a terrifying aura that could make all the heavenly Tao laws return to chaos and all the great Tao divine abilities disappear. I never thought that there would be an expert hidden in the prison-suppressing codex. Yi Ling's figure flashed. He disappeared from his original spot and appeared 1,000 miles away. The black-clothed woman's attack missed. There was a boom in Su Fang's head. His eyes flashed with disbelief. Heavenly Maiden? The woman was dressed in black. She had a graceful figure and a flawless face. Her temperament was ethereal and ethereal. The Heavenly Maiden Luo that appeared this time was not the shadow of a primordial spirit that appeared with the help of divine might. It was her true body. I am here, Su Fang. Heavenly Maiden Luo looked at Su Fang and smiled. The entire cold space of the prison-suppressing codex became bright and moving in an instant. You. How can you come to the prison-suppressing codex? Do you want to die? Su Fang was shocked and angry. He roared at Heavenly Maiden Luo. Since you are here, I naturally came, Heavenly Maiden Luo said lightly. In a flash, she appeared beside Su Fang. The space inside the prison-suppressing codex could not form a shackle on her. Touched, angry, anxious. For a moment, Su Fang had mixed feelings. He did not know what to say. Heavenly Maiden Luo? Yi Ling recognized Heavenly Maiden Luo's identity. Heavenly Maiden Luo was one of the most outstanding geniuses among the Yuan Tiangong. Furthermore, her identity was extraordinary. Yi Ling naturally paid attention to Heavenly Maiden Luo in the past. Yin-Yang Divine Lord. What a good Yin-Yang Divine Lord. You are actually Su Fang in disguise. I did not expect that there would be times when I make a mistake. Su Fang has been hiding beside me for such a long time, and I did not notice at all. Yi Ling sized up Su Fang with his divine light. Then, he began to laugh maniacally. To be able to kill a Yuan Tiangong saint and a Heaven Realm Tao Sanctum genius before dying, pig and dog. You deserve to die. A cold and old voice suddenly sounded from Heavenly Maiden Luo's body. You are. Yi Ling's laughter stopped abruptly. Then, he looked at Heavenly Maiden Luo. His eyes were filled with fear and despair. A shadow floated out from Heavenly Maiden Luo's body and instantly turned into an elder. It was Heavenly Maiden Luo's adoptive father. Yi Ling was like a mouse that had seen a cat. He looked extremely terrified as his figure directly escaped into the void. The elder stretched out a finger and pointed at the void. Poof! Yi Ling fell out from 10,000 miles away. His divine body shattered layer by layer from the inside out. In a flash, he turned into a pile of ashes. Everything on him had turned into nothingness. Only the origin sacred mirror was left. It was not damaged at all. Heavenly Maiden Luo was surprised and delighted. Adoptive father. The elder looked at Heavenly Maiden Luo. His eyes were filled with tenderness. With the help of the sun-piercing golden rainbow and my help, you can leave the prison-suppressing codex. Hope was ignited in Heavenly Maiden Luo's heart. Adoptive father, can you save Su Fang? The elder shook his head and said, Because you came from outside this universe, the shackles of the Tao River are much weaker than this brat. I will lose some of my cultivation and can barely help you break free from the shackles of the Tao River. As for this brat, unless a heavenly venerable acts personally," Su Fang said in a low voice, "Heavenly Maiden, don't mess around. Quickly leave the prison suppressing codex." Heavenly Maiden Luo smiled and said to the elder, "Adoptive father, since I have decided to enter the prison suppressing codex, I will not leave alone." The elder shook his head and sighed. "This is your own choice. I hope you will not regret it." "Adoptive father, I will not regret it. The only thing I regret is not being able to complete my mission." Heavenly Maiden Luo knelt down in front of the elder in midair. She could not stop crying. This universe is about to be destroyed. No one can stop it. What mission is there to talk about? The elder shook his head and sighed. His figure gradually turned blurry and then disappeared from the prison suppressing codex. "You are really a foolish woman." Looking at Heavenly Maiden Luo, Su Fang's eyes were filled with pain. He sighed helplessly. Heavenly Maiden Luo sighed and said, "Su Fang, in the illusory world of the disillusionment heart-punishing mirror, from the moment you gave me that half of the cake, our fates were connected. No one can separate us. If I live alone, what is the point?" Su Fang pulled Heavenly Maiden Luo into his arms. The two hugged each other tightly and did not separate for a long time. They only wished that this moment would last forever. After a long time, Heavenly Maiden Luo said faintly, "There are still 10,000 years left. Such a long time is already enough for mortals to experience the vicissitudes of life. We will be like a mortal couple. We will help each other through the rest of our lives." Help each other through the rest of our lives? Su Fang felt a wave of pain in his heart. The so-called help each other through the rest of our lives referred to when the spring water dried up and the fishes stuck together to moisten each other with their saliva. However, rather than helping each other through the rest of our lives, it was better to forget each other. Su Fang would rather let the two of them live peacefully than show such feelings of sharing weal and woe in a desperate situation. Seeing the Origin sacred mirror floating in the distance, Su Fang's spirit was inexplicably lifted. From the small world until now, he had used the Origin sacred mirror to survive countless calamities. He had stepped onto the peak step by step. After putting away the Origin sacred mirror, Su Fang's fighting spirit was reignited. This time will not be an exception. Next, after Su Fang recovered, he began to comprehend the powerful barrier that led to the sealed space of the prison suppressing codex. However, Heavenly Maiden Luo did not have any hope. She simply let go of everything and stopped cultivating. She became a virtuous and gentle woman beside Su Fang. After about 1,000 years. Chapter 23:18. Goddess, let's go. Su Fang grabbed Goddess Luo's hand and flew through the gap in the barrier with hope. Whoosh, a strong sense of weightlessness, as if they had entered water from the void. Boundless shackles surged from all directions. Su Fang hurriedly released the heavenly Tao order to form a defense that enveloped the two of them. Only then did he feel slightly more comfortable. He focused his gaze. What he saw was a vast and endless array formation space. The dense power of heavenly Tao order condensed into matter here, forming incomparably thick and dark chains of order. They crisscrossed in the space of the formation, densely packed like a spiderweb. Su Fang used his perfected ability, and at the same time, used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the heavenly Tao order power to project his sensing power into the depths of the array formation space. In this sealed space of the prison suppression codex, his sensing power could only reach a range of about 500 kilometers. The heavenly secret life shrinking technique could not sense any life aura. Su Fang used the heavenly secret art and made another deduction. He still could not obtain any accurate results, nor was there any news that could excite Su Fang. The heavenly secret art cannot deduce anything, but it also did not deduce the worst outcome. Actually, I can also deduce that there is something in the depths of the array formation space that I cannot deduce. No matter what it is still hope. Su Fong perked up and flew with Goddess Luo towards the depths of the array formation where the chains of order were the densest. The closer they were to the center of the array formation space, the denser the chains of order, and the more terrifying the heavenly Tao shackles were. Su Fong had comprehended the preamble of order, and from the prison suppression codex, he had comprehended the seals and hand seals in the barrier. His ability to control the heavenly Tao order power was astonishing. However, in the sealed space of the prison suppression codex, he was still greatly shackled. He could only control the surrounding heavenly Tao order power to fly and could not teleport. Goddess Luo released her divine might, and it felt like it was outside of the prison suppression codex. Although she was also shackled, she was much more relaxed than Su Fong. Su Fong was surprised. Goddess, what great Tao do you cultivate? I thought you would never ask. Goddess Luo smiled. At this point, she no longer had anything to hide, so she told Su Fong everything. I don't belong to this universe. Instead, I came from beyond the heavens. You should have guessed this long ago. Goddess Luo's words shocked Su Fong. Is there really another world outside the universe? Goddess Luo said, of course. However, there are some key secrets that I can't tell you. It's not that I don't want to, but that I can't. As long as I mention those key secrets, there will be a mysterious force preventing me from doing so. This is the natural law of heaven and earth preventing me from revealing the secrets of heaven. Su Fong couldn't help but be shocked. Goddess Luo continued, not long after I was born, I followed my foster father to this universe with a mission during the First World Metamorphosis. Mission? It's related to the changes in the world. I can't tell you, and I don't know much about it. Goddess Luo shook her head and said, ever since I came to this universe, I've been adventuring and killing resurrected experts. That time at the Brahma Saint Pond in the Brahma Heaven God realm was also a training mission. I see. I seized the piercing sun golden rainbow to enter the exalted celestial mountain and complete my mission. But after the world metamorphosis, the restrictions on the exalted celestial mountain also changed. Even with the help of the piercing sun golden rainbow, it was difficult to enter. If not for my foster father, I would have died. Su Fong was shocked. That golden rainbow king really deserves to die. He almost killed you. In the golden rainbow king's world, the world spirit was incomparably depressed. Your Tao partner took my supreme treasure and went to the exalted celestial mountain and almost lost her life. What does that have to do with me? I had no choice but to enter the Yuan Tiangong and increase my strength while waiting for the exalted celestial mountain to open. When the time comes, I will find a chance to enter. I see. Su Fong finally understood the whole story. Then, Su Fong asked curiously, how strong is your foster father? Goddess Luo said proudly, a transcendent who can transcend the restrictions of heaven and earth and roam the world beyond is a transcendent. Although he is not a heavenly venerable, he is above any sovereign. Even the supreme expert of the imperial people is inferior to my foster father. Su Fong was shocked. He originally thought that the white-robed expert of the imperial people was already the supreme expert of the universe. He didn't expect Goddess Luo's foster father to be even stronger than the supreme existence of the imperial people. Goddess Luo continued, however, my foster father is shackled after entering this universe. When he uses his strength, he will be suppressed and rejected by the heavenly Tao. Therefore, he rarely fights. Su Fong smiled proudly. I didn't expect my Tao partner to have such a great background. I've struck gold this time, he. Goddess Luo smiled. Now that things have come to this, you can still smile? Even your foster father can't change the current situation. Since no one can change it, we can only face it calmly. We can only live in the present and enjoy every day that we still exist. Su Fang had completely gotten rid of the fear of death. He was calm. Life is originally meaningless, but to be able to die together with you is even more meaningful. Goddess Luo held Su Fang's hand tightly and didn't let go. Su Fang thought of his father, Xuanxin, and his family and friends in the heavenly realm. He felt a little sad. On the way, Goddess Luo told Su Fang some things about the world beyond. She learned it from her foster father. She didn't see it with her own eyes. Beyond the heavens there were many universes. They were as vast and boundless as the Milky Way. In the endless universe there were countless cultivation civilizations. They were even more prosperous than the universe Su Fang was in. QL11 There were also some technological civilizations that Su Fang couldn't understand. The humans in those worlds were very weak, but they had astonishing intelligence. They created all kinds of machines and used the materials and energy in the world to the extreme. They even had the powerful ability to destroy the universe. Su Fang was fascinated as he listened, and his horizons were broadened like never before. He was filled with pride. Goddess, if I can leave the prison suppression codex this time, I will definitely transcend this world and follow you to see the world beyond. How great would it be if such a day comes? Goddess Luo's eyes also shone brightly. She was filled with anticipation. Time passed day by day. The deeper they went into the array space, the slower Su Fang and Goddess Luo became. The road ahead was long and extremely difficult. They couldn't see any hope. The resources they had were almost depleted as they advanced. When they were depleted, what awaited them was death. However, Su Fang and Goddess Luo didn't feel bored at all. They didn't feel any despair either. About 3,000 years later, Su Fang realized that the internal space of the prison suppression codex was collapsing at a much faster speed. The corrupted heavenly Tao aura seeped into the array space. It caused the space that was originally filled with the power of heavenly Tao to be filled with a faint aura of death. Goddess Luo suddenly suggested, Su Fang, why don't we create a material here and then build a home? Just like the home we had in the disillusionment execution mirror, until the last moment. Home? Su Fang's eyes lit up. Buzz. Deep in Su Fang's mind, the heavenly secret life shrinking technique runes suddenly flashed mysteriously. Just a moment ago, an almost imperceptible sensing force swept past his body. Someone is sensing my aura. This sensing force was extremely undetectable. If Su Fang hadn't mastered the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, he wouldn't have sensed it. There is indeed an extremely powerful existence in the sealed space of the prison suppression codex. Su Fang was shocked. Then, he was overjoyed. His heart thumped rapidly. Goddess Luo was also surprised and shocked when she learned of this. The two of them pulled themselves together and sped up. They flew toward the central area where the chains of order were the densest. While Su Fang and Goddess Luo were inside the prison suppression codex, the world outside had already fallen into a boundless calamity. As the river of heavenly Tao had been corrupted, the influence of the power of evil sun on the world had become 10 times stronger than before. The aura of death between heaven and earth had also become even more intense. Although it couldn't compare to the influence of the rise of the blood sun and evil sun, it still brought about a disastrous disaster to the various world. Countless big goblin fell into a frenzy. Many demons, big goblin, and evil existences that had been sealed in the primordial era and even before the primordial era all rushed out of their seals. There were also countless experts, great demons, and devils that were resurrected and wreaked havoc in the myriad of worlds. Various divine worlds were swept by the calamity and swallowed by the endless evil existences. This wasn't the most serious thing. As the heavenly Tao had lost its restraints, the various worlds fell into chaos. Naturally, the world was in chaos. Some areas that used to be very safe became chaotic. Time and time again, natural disasters erupted without warning. Not only were the cultivators of the divine world suppressed, but the power of their divine powers also decreased. The chaos this time affected the entire universe. Even the Hunyuan heaven realm was affected. Countless experts revived and attacked the Hunyuan heaven realm. The Hunyuan heaven realm, which was originally thought to be the last pure land in the various worlds, also became dangerous. The square heaven realm, as Xuanxin was personally overseeing it, and his second primordial spirit had secretly infiltrated the various major factions and cultivated a powerful secret force, Su Fang's disappearance didn't have much of an impact on the square heaven realm. Su Fang, are you really trapped in the divine prison of heaven's law? Chapter 23:19. Su Fang had offended too many people in the past, especially the Sanskrit, the Luo clan, and many geniuses from the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fang couldn't be blamed for this. He was a cultivator who ascended from a macro world and had no foundation in the myriad world. His sudden rise would naturally affect the interests of many people and arouse the jealousy and hatred of countless people. When Su Fang was still alive, even the venerable sovereigns didn't dare to touch him because of his identity as the saint of the Yuan Tiangong. Moreover, there were countless masters who tried to curry favor with him. Now that Su Fang was gone, even those who had a good relationship with him would leave. At most, they would help him out for the sake of their past friendship. However, helping once or twice was not easy. It was impossible for them to take care of Su Fang's family and friends forever. Xuanxin had been in the heavenly realm for thousands of years, so one could imagine how much pressure he had to bear. In the Yuan Tiangong. It was a palace located in the deepest part of the Yuan Tiangong. It was also the place where the power of the Yuan Tiangong was most concentrated. More than 30 venerable sovereigns and the supreme existences of the imperial people all descended their consciousnesses and formed doppelgangers. They were having an urgent discussion in silence. However, after many exchanges and deductions of various plans, in the end, the supreme experts of the imperial people had to accept the cruel reality. The order of the heavenly way had been corrupted. Heaven and earth had naturally lost the restraint of order, and no one could stop it. As time went by, the situation would become more and more erosive. In the end, they would have to give up on the various divine realms and retreat to the Yuan Tiangong. Even the ancient divine clans in the ancient divine realm were strongly affected at this time. They had to make arrangements in advance and prepare to evacuate. Although the seventh upheaval of heaven and earth hasn't happened yet, the apocalyptic catastrophe has come ahead of time. These top masters of the myriad worlds were all in despair at this moment. Although the Yuan Tiangong could survive for a while, what could they do in the end? They would still be engulfed by the catastrophe. No one could escape this disaster. A venerable sovereign suddenly said, "The supreme experts of the imperial people and the ancestor Luo from the outer world, is there no way to stop it?" Swish, swish. Everyone's eyes were focused on the imperial people in white sitting on the throne. There was a long silence. The supreme being of the imperial people said slowly, "No. The transcendent expert of my clan, the Luo ancestor, is unstoppable. Unless the celestial venerate personally intervenes." Everyone fell into despair once again. The imperial people's supreme being's expression didn't change. He continued, "It's not the final moment yet. The only thing we can do now is to send out peerless geniuses into the celestial worthy mountain in advance to understand the truth behind the world's anomaly and then find a way to stop it." A venerable sovereign asked, "Among the Yuan Tiangong, there are 3 peerless geniuses who are most likely to enter the celestial worthy mountain. Su Fang and Goddess Luo's whereabouts are unknown. Only Di Yuan is left. Is he confident that he can pass the test and enter the celestial worthy mountain?" The imperial people's white-clothed expert said indifferently, "Diuan, I don't have much confidence. Su Fang and Goddess Luo are at least 60% confident." All the venerable sovereigns were not surprised. In many people's eyes, Diuan was the strongest. It was indeed strange for the supreme being of the imperial people to say that he didn't have much confidence. In the past, when the celestial worthy mountain opened, it wasn't only the strongest who could pass the test. The supreme being of the imperial people's words made everyone look thoughtful. Where did Su Fong and Goddess Luo go? Dun escaped from the main hall of the divine prison of heaven law. Therefore, everyone knew that Su Fong and Goddess Luo were not in the main hall. They thought that they had luckily escaped the calamity. That was why they asked this question. Venerable Sovereign Sang Qiu and Venerable Sovereign Yi Dao looked at each other helplessly. Others didn't know Su Fong's whereabouts, but the two of them knew from Song Yen Hai that Su Fong had disguised herself and was trapped in the prison-suppressing codex. As expected, the supreme being of the imperial people sighed and said, Su Fong is shackled by the prison-suppressing codex. I'm afraid she has already died. As for Goddess Luo, she drove the sun-penetrating golden rainbow into the Dao River and then entered the prison-suppressing codex. She is also trapped. Both of them will definitely die. What a pity! The palace suddenly fell into a dead silence. The supreme being of the Yi clan snorted and said, If I knew that the divine prison of heaven law was so dangerous, I would have sealed the divine prison of heaven law directly after knowing that the Heaven Ruin Temple was the divine prison of heaven law. The supreme being of the Yi clan, Yi Luoyang, and a peerless overgod of the Yi clan were shackled by the prison-suppressing codex. Naturally, the supreme being of the Yi clan was furious. However, he wasn't speaking for Su Fong and Goddess Luo. The Emperor clan transcendent existence shook his head and sighed. Lord Patriarch Luo said that within the suppressing prison codex, there were chess pieces that the highest evil god had placed down ahead of time. No one could have imagined that so many geniuses of Primordius' heavenly palace would perish during this adventure. Everyone fell silent. The supreme being of the imperial people slowly stood up and said majestically, I have decided that after 5,000 years, the supreme being of my clan and everyone present here will work together to forcefully open the seal on the exalted celestial mountain and send Di Yuan into the exalted celestial mountain. Many supreme beings were shocked. One of the supreme beings asked, If we fail, the exalted celestial mountain will never be able to be opened again. It also means that we have lost the method to solve the heaven and earth anomaly. Lord, please reconsider. This is the arrangement of the supreme being of my clan. There's no need to reconsider. If Di Yuan fails, it means that this is the will of heaven. No one can change anything. We can only stay in the Yuan Tiangong and struggle at death's door until the last moment. The supreme being of the imperial people said majestically. His tone was filled with supreme dignity that no one could resist. About 2,000 years ago, Su Fong and Goddess Luo finally brought the prison-suppressing codex to the deepest part of the sealed space. At the center of the dense chains of order, a middle-aged man with long hair was sitting cross-legged. This middle-aged man's face looked as if it had been chiseled out with a knife and an axe. He had sharp edges and exuded a sense of coldness and vicissitudes. He also had an inexplicable wild and unruly temperament. His aura was incomparably illusory. If one didn't see him with the naked eye, they wouldn't be able to sense his aura at all. Su Fong could vaguely see that this person's body was covered with seals with his heaven-prying eye. Not only were there seals and seals, but the chains of order also passed through his body and firmly locked his divine body. Such tight and powerful shackles were truly shocking. Even the supreme beings that Su Fong had seen before weren't sealed like this. This is a supreme being that is at least as powerful as the supreme being of the imperial people. He might even be stronger. I didn't expect such a powerful being to be shackled within the prison-suppressing codex. Su Fong's heart was in turmoil. His mind was also in a state of shock. Goddess Luo wasn't any better. Her eyes were filled with shock. She secretly transmitted her voice to Su Fong. Su Fong, the feeling this person gives me is exactly the same as when I faced my adoptive father. This person must be a supreme being. Su Fong's heart trembled once again. A supreme being. This was a general term for supreme beings who had surpassed the limits of the heavenly Tao. Su Fong wasn't qualified to know what realm they were at. In the hearts of almost all the deities in the universe, supreme beings were already the most powerful beings. Unexpectedly, Su Fong first met Goddess Luo's adoptive father, and then he met a supreme being here. Moreover, this supreme being looked so young. After carefully sensing, Su Fong increasingly felt that this middle-aged man was profound and mysterious. He couldn't help but instinctively revere him from the bottom of his heart. He cupped his fists at the middle-aged man and said, "I'm Su Fong. Greetings, senior." The middle-aged man slowly opened his eyes. In an instant, an illusion appeared in front of Su Fong. Heaven and earth collapsed, and the galaxy flowed in reverse. It was as if the terrifying scene of the universe being destroyed was playing out in his mind. Chi, Chi, Chi. The Tao runes from the heavenly secret life shrinking technique automatically surged out of his divine aperture, dermic power Si, and Yang spirit. They collided violently with the illusion in his mind that was destroying his Tao heart and will. Finally, that terrifying illusion was burned, and everything returned to normal. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed. A whirlpool surged in his eyes. The origin sacred mirror flew out of Su Fong's body uncontrollably and floated in front of him. 9 Yang 9 transformations, origin sacred mirror, heavenly secret life shrinking technique, heavenly secret mysterious solution. You have quite a few divine abilities. The middle-aged man's hoarse voice carried an extremely strong aura of resentment. Su Fong was shocked. He actually saw through everything about me at a glance. You should be the new successor that old ghost chose. Did he send you to kill me? No. If he wanted to kill me, he wouldn't have sent a low-level existence like you. The middle-aged man's divine light swept over Su Fong's body. Su Fong felt as if he had taken off his clothes. His entire body, including his memories, was completely exposed under the middle-aged man's divine light. I was wondering why the seal was loosening. So this is the reason. The old ghost's heavenly Tao is about to be occupied by the evil god. Heaven and earth are about to be destroyed. Good, good, good. The middle-aged man laughed loudly. He was very happy. His laughter shook the surrounding chains of order. The restrictions on his body also flickered violently. The chains of order and restrictions caused the middle-aged man's face to contort in pain. His body trembled non-stop. However, he continued to laugh wildly. It was as if he had heard the happiest thing in his life. All the laughter that had accumulated over countless years burst out at this moment. Su Fong and Goddess Luo were shaken by the laughter until they bled from their 7 orifices. Their divine bodies were shattered, and their essence spirit's consciousness became blurry. At the same time, their hearts rapidly sank into an endless abyss. The old ghost that the middle-aged transcending level expert mentioned was undoubtedly the heavenly venerable of creation. Although this person was powerful, he was sealed here. How could he not hate the heavenly venerable? Ignoring whether he could break free from the seal or stop Jiang Taijie from tainting the heavenly Tao, just his monstrous hatred for the heavenly venerable made it impossible for him to stop Jiang Taijie. After laughing for a full 3 days, the middle-aged man finally stopped. Su Fong and Goddess Luo bitterly held on, barely maintaining their last trace of consciousness. As the laughter faded, they finally escaped a calamity. Fortunately, the middle-aged man's laughter wasn't targeted at them. Otherwise, the two of them would have been reduced to dust. Chapter 23:20. Strange? Disappointed? There was actually such a powerful transcendent being sealed in the sealed space of the prison suppression codex. How could Su Fong not find it strange? Su Fang originally thought that he would be able to find a way to stop Jiang Taijie in the depths of this sealed space and win a glimmer of hope for himself. In the end, he found a transcendent being who was filled with hatred for the heavenly venerables and wished for the heavenly Tao to be destroyed as soon as possible. How could he not be disappointed? His last glimmer of hope had been shattered. Su Fang's heart had become as calm as an ancient well, or it could be said that his heart was like dead ashes. He cupped his fists towards the middle-aged man and asked, "Senior, who are you? Why are you sealed here?" "Who am I?" The middle-aged man closed his eyes. It was as if he had been sealed for too long and had already forgotten who he was. After a long time, the middle-aged man opened his eyes and said slowly, "I understand, that damned old ghost." Su Fang and Goddess Luo were baffled. What did he understand? Why did he start cursing again for no reason? "You can call me you. As for who I am, haha, I am that old ghost, the heavenly venerables, you know. I was a chess piece buried here countless years ago. That's right, I am a damned chess piece. That damned old ghost, how dare he treat me as a chess piece?" At this point, the middle-aged man couldn't help but gnash his teeth. His eyes were filled with endless anger and helplessness from the bottom of his heart. "Chess piece?" Su Fang and Goddess Luo looked at each other. Su Fang asked, "Senior, please enlighten us. From your memories, I know what happened in the prison suppression codex. The resurrected sovereign Jiang Taijie was a chess piece buried in the prison suppression codex by the evil god. He broke away from the heavenly venerables mountain along with the so-called divine palace of Advent and appeared in the myriad of worlds. His goal was to wait for an opportunity to corrupt the heavenly Tao and cause it to lose its order so that he could take the opportunity to rush out of the heavenly venerables mountain. As for me, damn it, I am that old ghost, the heavenly venerables, buried in the depths of the prison suppression codex in advance to resolve all of this. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect that old bastard to have already set up this trap. He had long predicted that this day would come. I originally thought that the old ghost would at most shackle me here for eternity. I didn't expect that the old ghost was actually using me. This cunning old ghost actually played me in the palm of his hand." Nethery's words. Su Fang and Goddess Luo did not fully understand, but they vaguely understood many things. However, when they thought about it carefully, they were confused. However, the two of them finally understood one thing. This mysterious transcendent being named Shroud had been sealed here by an Empyrean. It wasn't to punish him, but because the Empyrean had foreseen that today's dangers would occur and had arranged for him to be sealed here ahead of time. In other words, mystery could resolve this crisis. QL11 Su Fang and Goddess Luo could not help but feel excited. Their hearts were thumping, and their eyes flickered with surprise and joy. The two of them were like people who were about to drown and suddenly grabbed onto a life-saving straw. Su Fang suppressed the excitement in his heart and carefully asked, "Senior, can you stop Jiang Taijie and resolve this calamity of heaven and earth?" Mystery snorted coldly. "I've been sealed here and can't move at all. I'm even inferior to an ordinary mortal. How can I resolve this calamity?" Su Fang and Goddess Luo felt as if they had suddenly fallen from the sky into an ice hole. From their hearts to their blood and skin, they were all covered in ice. This transcendent being named Mystery had probably been sealed for too long. There was a problem with his consciousness, causing Su Fang and Goddess Luo's hearts to waver. If their Tao hearts were not firm enough, they would be tortured to death by him. "Who knew?" Mystery continued. "It's not a coincidence that you were able to come here. You were guided by the will of the heavenly Tao. Naturally, you didn't come here for nothing." Su Fang's heart skipped a beat as he looked at Mystery in disbelief. Hope reignited in his eyes. "I reckon that in the entire universe, only you can help me break the seal. As long as I walk out of here, how can a mere revived Di Zun be so arrogant?" This time, Su Fang was both surprised and delighted. "Senior, Are you so sure that I can help you break the seal and free you from your shackles? Mystery glanced at Su Fang. Take a closer look at the seal on my body and use the yin-yang change. Then, you'll understand why I said that. This mysterious transcending level expert was actually able to see through Su Fang's control of the yin-yang transformation. No secret could be hidden from his eyes, which made Su Fang feel as if he was completely naked, which made him feel uncomfortable all over. He used the heavenly prying eye. His eyes that could see through heaven's secrets landed on Mystery's body. This seal is actually somewhat similar to the yin-yang change. It seems to have evolved from the yin-yang change. However, it's even more exquisite than the yin-yang change. It surpasses the yin-yang change. The more Su Fang looked at it, the more surprised he became. His eyes were filled with shock. The seal on Mystery's body formed layers of restrictions. It was an imprint formed by an incomparably powerful force. It intertwined to form the seal. The power in these restrictions was shockingly similar to the yin-yang change. It emitted the terrifying aura of the yin-yang change. However, it was of a higher level than the yin-yang change. It seemed to be an evolution of the yin-yang change's foundation. Su Fang used the yin-yang change. His divine power swept towards Mystery. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The surrounding chains of order rapidly contracted. They quickly condensed into a huge prison around Mystery. It burned with terrifying heavenly fire. Bolts of lightning flashed around it. The terrifying aura released by the prison forced Su Fang and Goddess Luo to continuously retreat. They only felt slightly better after retreating 100,000 miles away. The two of them had no choice but to activate their defenses. Layers of restrictions surged out from Mystery's body and skin. They intertwined, forming chains, shackles, and shackles that firmly shackled him. The divine power of the yin-yang change might not be able to shake the outer prison, but it clearly loosened a lot. Even the restrictions on Mystery's body resonated with the divine power. They wanted to break free from Mystery's body. The yin-yang change is indeed useful. Although the effect is minimal, it has the effect of removing such powerful restrictions. If I use the Origin Sacred Mirror, I will definitely be able to help Mystery break free from his shackles. Su Fang was surprised and delighted. When Mystery's surroundings returned to normal, Su Fang and Goddess Luo flew in front of him again. Mystery said, "In this universe, other than the person who controls the Origin Sacred Mirror, no one can shake the seal that Old Ghost left behind personally. Even Transcendents would find it difficult to break it. Unless they have the ability to shake the entire heavenly Tao and are at the same level as Old Ghost. It is obvious that Old Ghost sent you to my side to help me break the seal." Su Fang was eager to try. "I will use the yin-yang change to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror now. I will help Senior break free from the shackles and regain your freedom." Mystery said coldly, "Did I say I wanted you to help me break free from the shackles?" Su Fang was dumbfounded. What did this mean? Mystery continued, "First of all, your 9 Sons 9 transformations is not high enough. It is still lacking a little. Even if you activate the Origin Sacred Mirror, you will not be able to help me break free from the shackles. The 9 Sons 9 transformations that you cultivate is the supreme great Tao of the evolution of the universe. Before heaven and earth were born, there was chaos. It was called Wuji. When heaven and earth were created, yin and yang evolved. It is the first transformation of the fundamental power of heaven and earth. This is the yin-yang change. After this transformation is completed, it produces the initial yin and yang. Your current cultivation of the supreme heavenly Tao is at this level. The initial yin and yang still have yin and yang within them. They will continue to evolve endlessly. This is the evolution of the 9 Sons 9 transformations. Mystery's explanation allowed Su Fang to have a clear understanding of the 9 Sons 9 transformations for the first time. His heart was suddenly enlightened. What made Su Fang feel strange was how Mystery knew so much about the Nine Suns' 9 transformations. About the 9 Suns' 9 transformations, Xu Wanjin had comprehended it from the Origin's sacred mirror. Much of it was speculated by her. Mystery had been shackled here for an unknown number of years. How could she know so much about the 9 Suns' 9 transformations? Mystery muttered, "You are not high enough now. Unless you cultivate another Yang Meridian and enter the 8th transformation, you can join forces with the woman who cultivates the 9E9 transformations to activate the Origin sacred mirror. Only then can you help me break free from the shackles." Su Fang was in high spirit. He said decisively, "Senior, don't worry. It won't be long before I can cultivate the 72nd Yang Meridian and step into the 8th transformation." With the help of the Rainbow Stone Lotus, Su Fang was confident that he could successfully condense the 72nd Yang Meridian and step into the 8th transformation. However, after entering the divine prison of law, he had not had the time to fuse with the Rainbow Stone Lotus. In addition, the Rainbow Stone Lotus was extremely tough and could not be fused in a short period of time. Therefore, it had been delayed. After knowing about Jiang Taijia's scheme, how could Su Fang still have the mood to fuse with the Rainbow Stone Lotus and break through to the 8th transformation? As long as he had enough time, not too long, at most 1,000 years, he would definitely be able to fuse with the Rainbow Stone Lotus and step into the 8th transformation. Mystery snorted inexplicably. "Even if you help me break free from the shackles, why should I help you?" Su Fang was stunned. "The river of heavenly Tao has been tainted. The myriad worlds will fall into chaos. That old fogey has shackled me here. I can't wait for his heavenly Tao to be destroyed. Why would I help him? That old fogey has sealed me here and wants me to help resolve the danger. I just won't do anything. What can he do to me?" Mystery said proudly, leaving Su Fang and Goddess Luo completely dumbfounded. Immediately, Su Fang's heart surged with anger. "This bastard is playing with me. He gave me hope one moment and then extinguished it the next. This guy is simply a lunatic." Su Fang felt like he was being toyed with. Not only was he angry, but he was also filled with humiliation. A transcendent being, a supreme existence in the universe, was actually such a lunatic. "That's right. I am a lunatic. That's what that old fogey said about me back then." Mystery actually saw through Su Fang's heart at a glance. It scared Su Fang so much that he trembled. "Su Fang, let's go." Chapter 23-21. Before he left, Su Fang looked at Mystery, who was shackled, with a look of disdain and contempt. Mystery's eyes flashed with a cold glint. "Low-level existence, what do you want to say to me? It's not that you're unwilling to stop Jiang Taijia, but you can't. Fairy's adoptive father is a transcendent expert from beyond the heavens. Even he couldn't stop Jiang Taijia or save Fairy and me from the prison suppression codex, let alone you. You've been shackled for countless years. How much strength do you have left?" Su Fang raised his head and sneered disdainfully. "What a joke. Even if other transcendent experts can't do it, can you be so sure that I can't do it?" Mystery said domineeringly. In his tone, a supreme domineering aura that looked down on the world arose spontaneously. Looking at Fairy Luo, Mystery said disdainfully, "This woman is indeed from beyond the heavens. The transcendent expert from beyond the heavens that you mentioned was able to come to Old Ghost's universe. He's obviously powerful and even surpasses me. But so what? He comes from beyond the heavens. When he enters this universe, he will be rejected and unable to use his full strength. At this moment, the prison suppression codex has fused with the Tao River. The Tao River is the great Tao River of this universe. Unless he has strength that surpasses Old Ghost's, it's impossible for him to save you from the Tao River, let alone stop the revived sovereign. But I'm different. I was born in this universe and have transcended it. Therefore, I'm not rejected or suppressed. Moreover, I'm that Tao River. Fairy Luo's adoptive father was an outsider. Naturally, he would be rejected. This universe would also bully him. However, Mystery was different. He was a local and naturally wouldn't be rejected. However, what Su Fang didn't understand was what he meant when he said that he was the Tao River. Mysterious, strange, and he was a lunatic. This was Su Fang's evaluation of Mystery. Right now, I'm in the Tao River. Although it's not easy to kill that revived expert and even send you out of the Tao River, it's definitely not difficult. You raised his sword-like eyebrows, and his angular face revealed a domineering aura that surpassed the heavens and the earth. Then, he swept a disdainful glance at Su Fang. You're trying to goad me into action. I've lived for countless years, so how could I not see through such a clumsy trick? Su Fang smiled awkwardly. Who would have thought that this lunatic would be so astute and not fall for it at all? Looks like I've underestimated you. Trying to goad you into action was indeed a little laughable. But I still despise you and look down on you. Su Fang showed a look of disdain. A cold light flashed in Mystery's eyes. Are you trying to provoke me so that I'll kill you? You can't escape death anyway. So what if you kill me? Su Fang looked like he was going all out. Then, he said, I have a friend from the Azura Divine clan. He was originally the Azura king, but he was betrayed by his clansmen. His primordial spirit and physical body were separated and shackled in the divine realm and the macro world. I met him in the macro world. His primordial spirit was shackled in the blood jade. I don't know how long he had been through, enduring endless loneliness, and living a life worse than death. However, he never gave up and always remained optimistic. Compared to you, his strength is insignificant like an ant. However, you don't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as him. Both of you are shackled, but my friend can still have hope in his heart, while you give up on yourself and don't even care about your own life. How can I not despise such a person? Su Fang's righteous criticism caused Shroud's expression to change. It caused the surrounding aura to occasionally become cold and desolate. Chilly winds whistled and black mist filled the air. Occasionally, it would erupt like a volcano that could incinerate everything. Su Fang was born in a small world. At first, I was a piece of trash who couldn't cultivate. I was bullied and humiliated, but I have a firm belief that as long as I am alive, I can change everything. I have made great progress and reached my current height. Even an ant wants to live. As for you, although your strength is unparalleled in the world and no one can compare to you, in fact, if I may offend you, you are just an immature child. Seeing that Mystery was provoked, Su Fang continued to strike while the iron was hot and added fuel to the fire. Damn it, damn it. Damn you, ant, you have finally succeeded in infuriating me. Mystery let out an angry roar. In an instant, an extremely cold aura exploded from his body, forming a world in an instant. It was cold, but there was no sense of evil. Gusts of chilly wind whistled, like the cries of ghosts. Numerous shadows rolled around him. Su Fang and Goddess Luo felt as if they had fallen into hell. Their divine bodies and primordial spirits were sealed in ice and were about to fall into the eternal cycle of reincarnation. Just as the two of them thought they were going to die. The restriction on Mystery's body and the chains of order around him suddenly burst out with a shocking sealing power, suppressing Mystery's aura again. Su Fang and Goddess Luo felt as if they had just walked out of hell. Their bodies were drenched in sweat, and their hearts were filled with fear. Kid, you have succeeded. Although I know you are deliberately provoking me, I have to admit that you are right. I promise you that I will stop that revived D-Zune. Damn it, damn it. That old bastard must have predicted this. I knew it was his arrangement, but I still had to follow it. Damn old bastard, you better not die. I will definitely settle this score with you. Mystery roared repeatedly, full of unwillingness and helplessness. Su Fang was instantly overjoyed. Hope! he finally saw a glimmer of hope to survive. Not only was it the hope of him and Goddess Luo, but it was also the hope of the entire universe. Mystery snorted. Kid, you don't have much time left. At most, in 3,000 years, the prison suppression codex will fuse with the Tao River. That revived Zun can also use the Heaven Supervisor token to corrupt the Tao River and spread it all the way to the Heavenly Tao's origin sea. 3,000 years? That's enough time. Su Fang wiped the sweat off his forehead, and his eyes became incomparably hale and hearty. Next, Su Fang and Goddess Luo retreated from the depths of space. Then, Su Fang sat cross-legged in the void of the array formation. Reaching out to grab the rainbow stone lotus, Su Fang's eyes were filled with anticipation and determination. Rainbow stone lotus, you are related to the survival of the universe. Only by fusing with you and helping me produce the 72nd Yang Meridian will there be a glimmer of hope. The rainbow stone lotus seemed to have heard Su Fang's words. After a slight tremble, it emitted a rainbow xian guang. Come, become a part of me. That way, I can unleash your full value. Su Fang stripped off his blood, consciousness, and the power of the yin-yang world. He enveloped the rainbow stone lotus and slowly seeped into it. Goddess Luo sat cross-legged not far away as she silently looked at Su Fang. She was filled with anticipation and also afraid that Su Fang would fail. Sizzle! Perhaps because the rainbow stone lotus consciousness no longer rejected Su Fang, the speed of the fusion was much faster than before. His blood seeped into the rainbow stone lotus layer by layer, causing the rainbow stone lotus to gradually have the aura of the yin-yang world. Bit by bit, it became something that Su Fang could control. Although the fusion speed was much faster, it was relatively speaking. Time passed day after day as Su Fang struggled to fuse with it. About 1,000 years. Su Fang used the power of his blood to fuse with the outer layer of the rainbow stone lotus and finally seeped into the core area. Su Fang could not bear the constant consumption of the power of the yin-yang world. There was no way to replenish spirit qi or the power of the world here. Su Fang's pills were also used up. The golden rainbow monarch was no longer stingy. He took out the last portion of the treasures and gave it all to Su Fang. At the same time, the golden rainbow monarch searched Su Fang's subordinates in the golden rainbow monarch's world. He gathered all the resources that could be used and gave them to Su Fang to cultivate and recover. Another 1,000 years passed. Su Fang finally fused with the rainbow stone lotus completely and absorbed it into his body. His gaze suddenly became extremely fervent. Next, he would devour the rainbow stone lotus and use the heavenly Tao Order's essence origin power contained in the rainbow stone lotus to break through the 72nd Yang Meridian and enter the 8th transformation. However, Su Fang realized that he had been devouring pills and spiritual items all these years. In particular, the many spiritual items in the golden rainbow monarch's treasures had caused his power of the yin-yang world and blood qi to almost reach the peak of the 7th firmament of the Tao integration stage. The rainbow stone lotus is extraordinary. It contains a kind of heavenly Tao's origin power. Such power is so terrifying that it's impossible to withstand its power without great strength and a strong physical body. There's still a lot of time. It won't take long to break through the 72nd Yang Meridian. I'll first break through the 7th firmament and step into the 8th firmament. This way, I'll have a greater chance of devouring the rainbow stone lotus. He took out a large pile of resources, all of which were low-level resources that were not very useful to Su Fang's cultivation. He used the yin-yang transformation to refine these low-level resources into connate chaos qi. With Su Fang's current late-stage Tao integration stage strength and his 71 Yang meridians, he still had to expend a lot of energy to use the yin-yang transformation to refine the spiritual items into chaos qi. However, the chaos qi he obtained would become purer. The gains were far greater than the expenditure. Then, Su Fang activated the 9 Yang transformation, the World Tree, and the 71 Yang meridians to absorb the chaos qi crazily. Not long after, under the full force of Su Fang's attack, a shocking flame suddenly erupted from his divine body. Su Fang began to control all the energy in his body to attack his physical body. At the same time, he also used the illusory fire cloud to burn wildly, tempering his divine body like a supreme divine weapon. The tribulation fire was indeed shocking. The impurities in the placenta continuously surged out during this period and quickly turned into ashes. At the same time, a vast impact sound could be heard from his body. The tribulation fire slowly disappeared. The power of advancement began to sweep through. At a glance, the interior of his physical body was filled with 8th-level heavenly marks. The aura contained in them clearly came from his own heavenly Tao. As the power of advancement gradually dissipated, Su Fang completed another transformation and reached the height of the 8th firmament of Tao integration stage. However, Su Fang was not overjoyed. This trip to the divine prison of heaven's law had made him realize his own insignificance. A cultivation base of the 8th firmament of Tao integration stage was considered a peerless powerhouse in the myriad world. Moreover, with Su Fang's current strength, he could easily crush a middle-rank lord. However, in front of those sovereigns and transcendents, he was still so insignificant.